and welcome back to the only show that breaks down, cracks up, skews, and reviews each week's DC Comics. I'm Carol Ferris's new boyfriend, Eric Shea.
And I'm Jim Warner.
And this is the Weird Science DC Comics Podcast, episode number 484.
484, here we go, Eric. Get that through the door, right? Is that what you say?
Bitch can't get it through the door.
Oh, my goodness, all you weirdos here. Welcome to the show. And speaking of that, Eric, we don't have a refrigerator in our house for a couple days.
Because they can't get it through the door.
First one, because the bitch couldn't get it through the door.
Bitch can't get it through the door.
They were supposed to take the doors off of the fridge to get it in the damn door, and they did not.
Get bigger doors. God.
I was upstairs. I didn't even know what was going on. Tanya comes up, and I'm like, oh, how's the fridge? She's like, they left. They didn't even take it off the truck. What? And she said, the guy looked, said it's not going to fit. They wouldn't take the doors off, even though that was in the instructions, and then they left. Then they delivered another one today. It was the wrong one, Eric. Now we have one coming on Monday.
Word of problems.
Some will go wrong with that. It never goes right. If it went right, then it wouldn't be wrong, as they say, Eric. But hey, welcome to the show. Yeah, all you weirdos. We have a plethora of books, I would say, right? I guess it is. And yeah, I think it is. And we'll have that. We have some that we added in. And just to say right off the bat, we're well aware that the Superboy Man of Tomorrow #2 did not come out this week, but it came out digitally on the app. And since we had so few books this week and a lot next week, we decided to add it in. So call it a bonus, Sarah. Call it a bonus. But hey, everybody.
Count 5.
Yeah, well, that's, plethora -1, I guess. For some reason, I was thinking the plethora was 5 now. Maybe everything's shrinking like me. Yeah. Right? Like me, Eric. So we have a plethora -1. Not a lot of books, but some new #1s. Some Dawn of DC stuff.
Like, did I miss a book this week?
Yeah, no. It was me miscounting. Actually, not miscounting, misknowing, I'd like to say. Unlike my, name in Cleveland, misdemeanor. Oh, my goodness, you remembered that. Hey,
I don't
you can
Cleveland.
Go off now. You can go off to read written reviews at our website, WeirdScienceDCComics.com. That would be pretty cool of everyone, but also go over to our YouTube channel, Weird Science Comics. You can even have things there like the new news that Wonder Woman's daughter Trinity will be hitting the Dawn of DC coming up, and we'll get the first appearance in the, the Wonder Woman #800 next month, Eric. Are you looking forward to that? It's funny, they keep pushing that as the big news. But in that issue will be the Clunrad's final story for Wonder Woman. They don't really care about that, but who does? You can also go over to our Patreon, patreon.com/Weird Science, and get a lot of shows, including our weekly DC Comics Badass Patreon Spotlight. And this week, the badasses of the Get Fresh crew, they ended up picking Harley Screws Up the DCU #3. I didn't add the multiversity part in that, Eric, because we're still a little, unclear.
Multiversity's in the header. That makes it important.
We're still not really knowing that that's as important as we thought. And Stargirl, The Lost Children #6, which is a really, really good book. We really like that. A finale that seems to be a prelude to go into JSA #6.
Stepping stone.
And we'll see if we get a young JSA book. I ended up doing a video review of that, and a lot of people in the comments actually didn't want a young JSA book. They just want it to get into the JSA book itself to make that worth buying, is what they said, which, maybe that is the case. But we also go on there on the Twitters. If you want to go follow us at Weird Science DC, follow us, we'll follow you back. But we'll get right into this. And with the badasses of the Get Fresh crew, if you want to get mad at them that they picked Stargirl, we're now going to list all of them in the badass roll call. This is doxing at its best. Ah, yeah, Eric. I know you love that. Here we go.
Nobody does.
Trevitt, Dad Nation. Yeah is there. Eric KKK, Jeffrey Greek, Zachary Walker, The Annihilator, Ted Probst, I Love Punchline, Stork, Michael S. Cam, Matt Razor, D-Man 3000, Niels T-Wort, David Fink, Stephen Baum, who we'll hear from later, Jason Colby, Sue42 to you and me, Michael G, Ken Halleck, Comic Boom, Rocky, Fat Dick Andre.
Oh, shit.
Fat Dick Andre. I guess that's just his title. Mark
Don't try to figure it out.
I'm trying to figure it out. Man.
It's right there in your face with this big old fat dick.
Dick Andre. Mark Jager heading off to Paris. Coming up, he's going to see Metallica in Gay Paris. Bill,
nice.
A Beer of the Bat Pod Rubin, Carlos, No Wolf Marv, that Ray Pierre, Luke Hollywood, Simon, Luis, Manship, Andrew and Belfast, Swanee, Anthony G, Josh Vermillion, my man Batman Beyond Mark, B. Muir, Brandy Murray up there in Buffalo, and Double Aaron off in Minnesota, doxing his ass. All-time greats Rob Lewis and Reginald Drinkwater. We ended up having the unfortunate anniversary of Reggie passing this week. Toby put a tweet out, and that reminded me to be sad this week, and I thanked him for that. And I miss Reggie. I've been telling some of the new people in the podcast, everybody listening, how much they missed out on Reggie. And the thing that I always end up saying is, you missed out on Eric getting furious every time he wanted to rhyme time into the books.
It was the worst.
We can finally tell everybody how much you just hated that. You hated it so much.
Finally.
I never really spelled it out too much that you hated it, but the idea that you hate that and Jack Kirby, you're just not a wholesome fella, Eric. You don't like the fun.
I didn't say anything that I hate Jack Kirby. It's just I don't hold him in such high regard as everybody else because I have eyes and can read.
Well, that's the thing. You said to me just recently, it's more of the writing of Jack Kirby that you don't care for as much. But Reggie with the rhyme time, it's one of those things. I didn't love it, but I loved it because you hated it so much. And I love to listen when I would edit the podcast where I then can pretty much isolate your track to hear you sigh right before you turn your mic off. That was it. There was a sigh.
I'll check it out for a few minutes.
It made me laugh so much, but a shout out to Reggie. And seriously, if Reggie is looking down, up, sideways, he's laughing right now because that's what he was doing anyway. He was trying to drive us nuts. So with all that, little shout out to that. But that's that. We're going to get on to our plethora -1 of books, Eric. And like I said, there's some big ones, some big new Dawn of DC books. There's some weird Dawn of DC books. And then there's one book here that's driving me completely insane. But we'll go to that
Superboy
right about now. Eric, you have read comics most of your life. A weird song to start with. I don't think we ever have, but it works out for me because I was wondering, which one of us would lead everyone into this new Green Lantern? And then I laughed because it sounded in my mind a lot like when I asked you who would review the Mortal Kombat.
What do you know?
That's all I can think of. I thought I'm going and you always yell at me because
obviously, Jim, I'm a pretentious prick and I'm going to do it.
I never can remember which books each of us do and whatnot. And I do like to try to make it evened up. So I'm going through, I'm like, okay, he's not going to be doing Spirit World. I know that he doesn't do Batman Inc., but I couldn't remember which one of us did that stupid Superman Lost. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe, just maybe he'll want me to do the Green Lantern deal. So I asked you. I didn't even write down the credits because I knew you would, but it made me laugh when I asked you. I'm waiting for it. Well, of course, that would be me. But look, you did Jim, mention
I'll make you this promise right now. We ever get a solo Guy Gardner book, you can have it.
Thank you. I did talk to some people about Guy Gardner this week. You are a giver. But here we are. And yeah, we end up having a new Green Lantern book. We're going to head off to the Spirit World at one point, and we continue Batman Incorporated. That seems to pick itself up with a little Joker's ink, even though it felt a little strange, but that's fine. And I have a theory that I want to see if you might have thought the same thing, but we're going to cancel it. No, it is not, Eric.
Okay, I'm telling you, the thing is, that's not shade. That's just me misremembering, because I know a lot of books were canceled. I'm like, was that one of them? Because I don't remember.
And it is one of the books that we don't get a lot of people talking about, but the people who do talk about it are pretty positive about it. It's decent enough, right? There's a couple things that when we get to it, I'll end up like, I have some theories, Eric. And when I have a theory, that means that everybody perks up their ears to listen, right?
Pricks.
They don't. I didn't want to say pricks because it would make me giggle. But it's good to have
everybody else.
Oh, that you're just saying them. Well, that is true, Eric. That is true. Now, with that, though, we do have a new Green Lantern book with the titular character.
There you go.
I just wanted to say
pricks.
Pricks. Titicaca. Well, we end up having this Green Lantern book, and most people in the know, they've been wondering, what will Eric Shea think about it? Because since we don't have me and you mainly doing reviews on the site, I do some video stuff, but this would have been an Eric Shea book, obviously.
Totally. Come on.
You're keeping it so close to the vest, Eric. People have been asking me all week, and I'm not joking.
Nobody's asked me, though.
Because they know you're never going to answer. I'm the mouthpiece, right? They end up with, and also I can get to you, but I didn't even bother because I know you're not going to tell me, and that just gets me more frustrated and angry. So I wanted to know, though, and I said to you, I think that you'll like it, but it'll never be enough for Eric Shea because he always wants more and more and more.
Just like real life.
But I hope that you at least enjoyed the new start of a book that you have always loved, but you couldn't have for the past bunch of years. Eric, give us the credits and let's get into it.
Green Lantern #1, written by Jeremy Adams, with art by Zermanico, Romeo Fajardo Jr., and Dave Sharp. And we do have a backup, and I'll get to those when we get there. But for what we have for our main story, our front up, if you will, Hal Jordan is back, baby. And he's back on Earth to be our solo Green Lantern. And we have a little thing to get us into this whole comic book series. It's a time of radical change in the galaxy. The Guardians of Oa have disappeared, and in their absence, the United Planets have seized control of the Green Lantern Corps. Bullshit.
Yeah, there we go. Here we go.
In a shocking decree, the United Planets have declared Sector 2814 an unsafe liability to the universe and have reassigned the Earth Lanterns to other sectors. Okay, whatever. We'll get back to it. The true motivation behind this hostility remains a mystery. Furious at this turn of events, one Lantern has quit in protest, returning to Earth to start his life anew. The Green Lantern, back on Earth. Hal Jordan is here. And pretty much what you're going to get from this, if you read the New 52 Green Lantern straight from the get-go, is a lot of the same. Hal's back on Earth, has no money, nowhere to live, and he needs to get his job back at Ferris Aircraft.
I think that this, and Sinestro's there. I mean, it is very similar, but where you had the New 52, and it was Jeff Johns doing it, it eventually led into Simon Baz and things like that. I think that had more of a kind of miserable tone to this. This ends up where Hal Jordan, he doesn't know what to do, but he does have a place to live. You don't have the bills collecting, but he's trying to get back in the swing of things, even though in the regular continuity,
that's left him behind.
It seems like he's been on Earth for quite some time if you go from what we had before, because he was kind of just hanging. But the idea that you have this United Planets, he was just hanging. I mean, there were times where you'd have, even to the point of Rebirth, where you'd have Simon and Jessica get a hold of him and things like that, but he was doing his core stuff then. But since then, it seemed like it was just kind of like, he was just hanging on Earth for a while, but this could be back then, whatever. But this is a dawn of DC. Things are being set back and things. And like you said, you're kind of going with the bullshit deal. But if you're going to go, and we said it about Shazam.
Well, this never said anything about Lazarus Reign, so the explanation's better already.
Yeah, exactly. And, I mean, if you're going to go and get stuff from Jeffrey Thorne's run and try to throw in the Green Lantern, I mean, you're really going to struggle.
Well, it's such a weird idea, because in my mind, you have to continue with the continuity, because obviously that's how I work. I'm a goddamn maniac. But you had Jeffrey Thorne's run, which made, John Stewart, the Mortal Guardian, the new God situation that he was, where you had the God Storm that we had going on, which then repowered the lantern. They're like the main power lantern. And then that's where people got their powers. And the crisscross things, making people different versions of different lanterns. And that's where you left. You have the idea, too, where a lot of the Guardians were murdered. They were out of flux. So it was weird how everything was explained in that, and also not explained at certain times.
That's the problem.
We left that book with John Stewart going off to go face the Dark Army, being put in his own dream world, which for some reason became main canon at some point somewhere, and we're going to get to that point later. But where we leave things off, it's just the Guardians have disappeared because of the United Federation of Planets, which seems weird to me. Even the idea that you have this entity, this willpower cosmic being, that's power is dispersed out there, fueled the Green Lantern Corps, and the Guardians have made it their entire all of Time's mission to use this, after the Manhunters, of course, to say, oh no, we're gonna bugger off, and now it's this people we know nothing about, and it's on you now. And
they didn't do that in this, though. That's what I'm saying. And with that, it just says the Guardians have disappeared, and in their absence, the United Planets have seized.
I'm saying, though, that's the whole play. Even that idea where the Green Lanterns themselves would allow this to happen. Like, I understand that Hal quit in protest, but all of a sudden we got a group of assholes who we saw during the War World series where, aren't always on the up and up, and we leave Superman over there to die and be on his own. Mm-hmm. They're going to be in charge of the Green Lantern Corps, and everybody's like, all right, cool, we're going to do whatever you say. Even the idea that Earth is too dangerous, so we're going to take all the Earth Lanterns and if it's so dangerous, why don't we get more of these people over there to make sure that we can protect it from everybody else in the universe?
I think that you're going around the danger in a different light. A green light, maybe, Eric.
Maybe.
The idea, I think that the big play here is that the United Planets are sus. Maybe all the Green Lanterns know that, maybe they don't, but the idea of, well, you see with Hal, what else are you going to do? This has been your life, so they stay, but some of them may have stayed, like a Kilowog. We may find out Kyle Rayner, Kilowog, they're staying on to make sure that it's done right. Yeah, like that, but Hal has
infiltrate
quit,
this.
And it allows Hal to be on Earth, obviously, but I think that the idea that they have reassigned, they're doing something and they're targeting Earth. I think they want the Lanterns off. They need them off of the planet, so they made up this shit and they dispersed the deal. Hal's still here. We'll have to see, but I think that's the big play here. And when you see Sinestro, I think that he's going to be right in with that.
It's even such a weird idea.
But this is worse. You have a common enemy.
Hal Jordan is back on Earth. He's the Green Lantern, and not only Earth, but mostly Coast City. Everybody in Coast City is happy to have the Green Lantern back to protect them. And they're all like, once it's on the news at a bar, like, man, I feel safer already. Sinestro is just sitting with a hoodie on at a bar, just overhearing the news and giving that Sinestro scowl that we all love to see. But it's just every time we jump into a new thing with the Green Lanterns, it seems like, all right, we're going to forget a bit about what the old, Tor did with their time on the Green Lanterns, because everything we've had just feels weird, because even when we had Sinestro be the leader of New Korugar, when he jumped back into things, so we had that, like when then Jessica Cruz became a Yellow Lantern and was a part of that, and then she's not a Yellow Lantern anymore, she's a Green Lantern. We're not going to talk about that. And even when Sinestro was the leader of New Korugar, last we saw before that, Sornak Natu, his daughter, was the leader of the Sinestro Corps. And then we jump into this, the next plot. She's no longer around. We don't talk about her. And now that we're over here, New Korugar doesn't matter. We just have Sinestro on Earth, and maybe it will make sense as we go along. It's just, I don't know why we lose so much along the way as we progress through the series.
Because it was bullshit. That's why. And to take the
What's
time.
What's wrong with Jessica Cruz being a Yellow Lantern?
The thing is, they never did anything with it, and then it seemed to get fudged back, but even so, we don't have Jessica in this.
And even Sornak Natu being in charge of the Sinestro Corps, she took it from her father. We never continued that. It just was
written
like,
that may
Sinestro's
still be
back.
out there. The problem here is that Jeffrey Thorne book, and I'm just going with that, nobody read it. Everybody hated it. It was bullshit. And to try to come into this and say, okay, well, I'm going to make sense of that bullshit story to go forward. Fuck that. This is what we said about Shazam. The idea where in this, and people who have talked to me about this, and I see reviews, whatever, and people, they haven't read a Green Lantern book since maybe, the beginning of Rebirth. So a lot of the stuff that me and you know and may get, I like Jessica as a Yellow Lantern. We thought that was great. But nobody cares about it or knows about it enough to actually deal with it. What they want is a classic feeling book, and they want to get involved because that Grant Morrison, if you love him, you love him. But that The Green Lantern, that was just like a roadblock for anybody who wanted to enjoy a Green Lantern book. Then you get Jeffrey Thorne stuff that he's going with this whole mosaic shit that nobody cared about anyway. And then you go with that. So I don't mind wiping it clean. This is a Dawn of DC, wipe it clean, have it, but it still can work. We still might have New Korugar. You may end up having Sinestro there because they did something with that. Or, the idea, I think it's more of the enemy of my enemy. And hey, Hal, I know that you're a jerk, but...
Because even what we saw before, Sinestro went to the Federation of Planets like, hey, look, I'm willing to play ball with you jerks. I'm in this bitch.
But again, that was in the Jeffrey Thorne deal. I think they're just saying that, fuck that. Nobody read it. It was terrible. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But again, I'm here for the Dawn of DC. If I get something fresh and I could say, okay, Hal's there, no other Earth Lanterns, that it does feel a forced way to do that, but I think that's by design. And then I think you have the United Planets that are sus, and how we'll have to figure it out.
That's such a weird idea where we are in DC Comics right now, because I don't know why the United Federation of Planets feels so far behind us at this point to bring it up again. I know it's been recent because we had them even in the Superman War World saga, but even that felt like to a diminished degree where, and once Bendis left, it was almost like out of sight, out of mind, except for a few players who still did it, but it was still not as heavy as it once was. And to have it back in, oh, yeah, that is a thing, isn't it? Look at it.
I will say that bit, you might as well just have that in an animated deal as a crawl, because, boy, it's a radical
totally
change in the galaxy straight out of Star Wars, which I like. I was like, okay, let's go.
You get Star Wars, you get Maverick here. You
do get Maverick here, and you do get some things. And this is what I was afraid of when I said to you, you might end up liking it, but I don't know, because you do kind of play off a lot of stuff that we got at the beginning of the New 52 with Hal being back and he's got to reacclimate himself to Earth, which I like it here as well. And I like that Jeremy Adams even uses some songs and stuff like, oh my God, Hal likes all of my songs that I like. I can't acclimate myself. Yeah, he's not listening to mumble rap, I'll tell you that, Eric. But when you end up going through this, you're just getting a fresh take that I think that most people that are jumping on, that skip the Jeffrey Thorne stuff, that didn't get involved, they're probably going to like this a lot more than somebody like you who does want to, you hate to have things that you read be shoved aside to mean nothing, but sometimes that might need to happen.
And then certain things, like in the backup with the idea where you have Jeffrey Thorne's The Green Lantern.
I'm not going to say that I like that at all,
That continued on into the Dark Crisis with the status quo of John Stewart, which became a new world/dream world that Pariah created for John Stewart, that somehow in our backup has become real in the future.
Is it now Gothtopia that we said about the idea that when you ended up having Ann Nocenti do the Gothtopia deal in the New 52, Catwoman was in a dream world, and then when she came out, she still had the same job that she had in the dream world. It makes no sense. So here we go. But again, my whole play of these Dawn of DC books, the ones that I've really started to enjoy, have been the ones that, okay, the first issue at least gives you the, oh man, this character's pretty cool. Oh my, I think that this might be neat. And I do get that from Hal Jordan here, even if he is a bit of a sad sack, but not so much like he was at the beginning of the New 52. But right away, you have that cold open. He's saving some miners, right,
yeah.
Eric? You know,
those famous mines of Coast City.
The miners, yeah, the mines of Coast City. And he ends up saving them, but it is pretty cool, the glow, the colors pop in this, especially digitally. But it gets you the, hey, guys, need a lift? They're probably like, shut up. Like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, we got it.
I would cheer, but I'm too weak.
Yeah, exactly. You'd be there doing that. But you end up where Carol, she's trying to make things work with Ferris Aircraft, and in the background you have that news report of, hey, everybody, Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern's back. And God. She just turns around. I thought that was great, too. I'm not going to say that there was a lot of meat on the bones here in this first issue, but it did give me that feeling. It did give me that idea. Whatever happened to Kyle
Rayner and Carol Ferris's baby that they were going to have? And I say that, a lot of people are like, what are you talking about? We know that Carol Ferris and Kyle Rayner had a relationship in the New 52, which everybody seemed to hate. I didn't mind because I was a Kyle Rayner guy, so go get your thing there. But in one of those weird anthology books, which I have to admit, think that is just an out of continuity and we don't have to worry about it, Carol was pregnant, dun, 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 and we never heard of it again. So
I think he even hinted at, or actually we made fun of it in Omega Men when you had Kyle like, well, what's Carol going to do? But you have all this going on. But I do like where she's, doing her thing and she turns around and it's funny too because you have the announcement, the newscaster. Oh my God,
Green Lantern's back.
And when she turns around to look, it's just Hal's face right on the screen. She's like, oh, fuck. And I thought that was really good. And the play is, that kind of gets me, is when there's Hal, and Hal, he thinks he's a schmoozer, right? He put the schmooze in moves. Is that what you do? The moves and the schmooze?
Especially when he's on the booze.
Yeah, right there. And she goes out and she's like, oh my God, I got to get going. But she was already going to be leaving for some conference or some meeting because she's trying to work her deal and the angle to make, Ferris Aircraft viable. But she goes out.
We gotta evolve. We're not doing test flights and test pilots anymore. We're working into the wild world of drones like everybody else is.
So she ends up where she gets the, hey, Hal Jordan on line 3. He's there. And she's like, just tell him I'm busy. I'm not going to be around. I'll be in Europe, whatever. And when she goes out, there he is. And I love the progression of this of, look at this guy. He is so cocky that he thinks he can legitimately just leave Earth multiple times, because this has happened before, and just come back and everything's fine, and it's not.
Why wouldn't he? It's worked before.
I mean, look at him. He looks great. He has got the bomber jacket on, his classic deal. So when she says, listen, I can't do this, I have a boyfriend, at the end it says fiance. Great. So I'm like, ooh, that to me was a little hint, Eric. When you say boyfriend and not fiance, I don't know what's going on. But she says, I can't deal with this. But she can't help herself. She does care for Hal, and she offers him at least an opportunity to work at Ferris Aircraft. So
and he blows it.
Yeah, he does. And you do see, and one of the things that I thought might not have played out as well, I don't love that we're jumping back and forth. I don't know why. I think that we could have played this out right in a row.
Well, it's such a weird thing because Hal Jordan, while he is getting back into the swing of things as Green Lantern, has been on Earth a month prior to this, where he's just kind of hanging out in his brother's mobile home, living the dream, sitting on top of his tin home, drinking soda pop, looking at the stars, talking to himself, and looking at bottle openers and keychains and thinking to himself, man, it would be great if I had a ring again. Because it's such a weird situation where I'm not sure that a lot of people get the idea when they read this, that Hal Jordan a month prior doesn't have a ring at all. It was taken from him, I have to assume, by the Federation of Planets when he quit and everything like that. But him being Hal Jordan, the man who has the most willpower in the universe, when he hears about an attack going down in Coast City with the new, like a guy called Steel Fury who's using repurposed Manhunter technology, he goes down there with the idea of becoming what I have to assume is a new Black Hand to a degree, because we have a character here shooting what he hears as green lasers out of his hand. So it's such a weird idea, but you have Manhunters that are using the willpower energy, which he then harnesses when it shoots at him, using his own willpower with, I have to assume, just a key ring around his own finger to make a Green Lantern ring once again, like Black Hand used to power up his rod with, once he used Green Lantern energy, or even when you had the original Sinestro ring, where it would just power itself off to like excess Green Lantern energy and stuff like that. So he's almost like an energy vampire at this point in time for how he's just, I don't know how he's going to, recharge his ring or do any of this because he doesn't have a battery, but he just charges up his ring with one laser bolt of the Steel Fury, using this to make his own ring again to become Green Lantern. And I don't know how we're going to keep doing this because we saw him during the Rebirth era, maybe it was even pre-Rebirth, where he made his own ring using his own willpower, but he also had, energy to do that with, and then, was able to have a central power battery to work off of. And it's such a weird idea because that was never fully explained to me, because then it got weird to the point where his willpower would overcome him, where he'd become a construct himself. We never, in my mind at least, went fully with the explanation of what this does, what it means outside of everybody else in the Green Lantern Corps. But what we have here is him getting back into action by just repurposing Green Lantern energy that he absorbs into himself, creating a ring and making himself a Green Lantern again outside of the United Federation of Planets, just back on Earth. And I'm like, I got done reading this section. I'm like, especially because that one month earlier bit that they break up the story with, I'm like, are a lot of people going to get this and understand what's going on?
And that's the thing. I don't know that everybody's going to understand it, but at the end, there's Hal Jordan. He has a ring and he's the Green Lantern, and hopefully things kind of fall into place a little more. I think that it's more of that. I think most people, even if they don't understand it, they get this deal of, okay, he has a ring. While I think that a lot of people think, well, he had the ring, and that's how he blocks the attack from Steel, but that's not what happened. Like you said, he's absorbing it, and he's making his own deal. Very similar to, as you said before. So that's a deal. I just kind of, when you go back a month and then, that's how he got that to get to there. It works out. It's not very complicated. I always just hate where you have this going on, then you have to go back a month to see how he got the ring and you go all that, or at least got the power. But he does end up becoming a Green Lantern, and there's that action scene type deal at the end. But in the meantime, he does end up having that new job, or at least trying out, and it's very Maverick-esque. Nobody's going to even pretend it isn't.
All right, Grandpa, we're going to be flying around the canyon here. Make sure you stay behind us and hit all the obstacle course marks that we need to. You think I'm old? Let me show you how to run. Can pull back, Hal. You're going too fast. He ends up destroying what we think is a jet, but it turns out this to be drones that they're piloting remotely from the offices.
Dead. And exactly. Yet you're like, okay, I get it.
But it's still an expensive drone. And I was just hoping at one point it was just a simulation for how they were playing it. And
I didn't even care that as much. I thought it was a simulation, but as a drone, because it's green, I thought he made a construct. I thought that with that was that's in the timeline where he's already the Green Lantern. Obviously, he made a construct, so it's no harm, no foul, but that's not the case. It was a drone. But that, again, is oh my God.
It's all about drones now.
I love the idea, though, because it ends up this issue. I like Hal in it, even though he's an asshole. He is a complete.
That's Hal.
It's Hal.
He's a cocky fucker.
He ruins a drone. You already start out by really showing that Carol's having problems. The whole aircraft affairs, they're cutting corners. They're in the red. That stuff. So Hal ruins a full-out expensive drone, and his solution is, well, just get the real things and I'll be a pilot.
If that was a real jet, I wouldn't have done that. This is on you, baby. He's the master ghost later. That should be his new freaking superpower name, because He destroys a drone of this woman who's struggling to keep her business afloat. He's like, well, if it wasn't this, I would have had this. So really, babe, it's on you.
And not only, babe, it's on you. So what you need to do from here is go and spend $10 billion on real
Get me a fighter pilot jet.
So you got me. Like, I deserve it. And it's so, but Jeremy Adams, that's what I think he gets the character in the way that you don't really hate Hal for doing it because, like you said, hey, it's Hal. That's what he's like.
But the thing is, this is what he's like, but it's also why I'm a Kyle Rayner guy.
Yeah, and why I'm a Guy Gardner fan. If you're going to be an asshole, just wear it on your sleeve. I mean, Hal tries to hide it behind that
Kyle's
smile.
Not an asshole.
I know he is, and he's really good. He's the Dick Grayson Nightwing of the Green Lantern Corps, Eric.
I say that. The weird part is because I'm going through all these things. I just had this terrible flashback, as soon as I said that, of all the times he screwed over women in his life outside of Alexandra at the beginning.
There you go. But yeah, the Hal is so
But he
pompous.
tries.
Yeah, he does. That's the thing. I would think that, you end up having the face of the Green Lantern deal is Hal, but the heart is Kyle Rayner. And the fists,
not Jon Stewart.
They're the Guy Gardner. I think Jon Stewart's the intelligence. I think that he is the intelligence and the honor.
What's Simon Baz? The forgotten member of the family.
Actually, Simon Baz is like the trying to make good guy. Is that somebody?
The trying to make good guy.
He's the trying to make good guy.
Jessica Cruz, the broken member.
And so where you end up having him kind of pump his ass, but the way that he did not, and this is what I do like in the month early, he ends up hearing that the Steel Force is going, and it really does sound a lot like a roller coaster, Eric. So you end up where he's going to go off and take this guy down. He hears that this thing downtown...
Steel Fury.
Steel Fury, shooting the, green waves.
The green lasers.
He doesn't go down there as a way of like, okay, this is a way I'll get back my power. He goes to stop somebody who's doing some real bad shit downtown.
I kind of feel that's why I did it, though.
No, I don't think so. Only because if you hear
he knew
this,
exactly what he's doing.
You think that he knew that when he gets there and hits this guy with his truck and a tire iron, then gets confused about what he is wearing, then tells the guy not to wear it, then gets shot by the guy that he would know. I don't think that he would know. I think that he went down because he is bored. That'd be the word. And he wants to be a hero again. He has nothing to do. This would be like somebody who was in the armed forces and they need to do something exciting.
Somebody who misses the life.
Yeah, well, he does miss the light, but I don't think that he went down thinking that
back.
This would give the power back. I don't think that he'd ever be able to connect all those things, especially when he seems very shocked that this is Manhunter tech that this guy is wearing and says, you got to stop this right now. Get that off. This is very dangerous. And this asshole, that's what I'm counting on. So he's all into it. But yeah, when he gets blasted and Hal kind of just puts up his hand, kind of block the deal, it doesn't kill him. He ends up being able to stop.
So what do you think happened a week ago? Because this guy was able to buy former Manhunter tech off Terrifabay instead of an eBay because it's the DC universe, and he couldn't get the damn thing to work until a week ago when it suddenly started working again. What do you think happened a week ago? I think that's one of the
mysteries. I think that's one of the mysteries of maybe what had happened and what is going forward in this. Why would that end up? Is this that tech is out there, and because now the United Planets are sus, and that means that it's suddenly activated, almost like a fail-safe. I don't know. That it ended up like, beep, boop, things are bad again, let's go, or somebody's out there doing it. I like to imagine
this is one of the repurposed ones that Cyborg Superman once had for the idea, for how it's working. I'm telling you, this is just all headcanon.
Yeah.
But now that we know that Cyborg Superman's back over in the Superman book, that's what's turned this back on and had that ultimate synergy going on.
Seriously, I was just making up shit, but and I think you were too, but still,
yes.
If it connects to the Superman book, then I like this even more. Because the more connections, I am in, Eric.
But
so yeah,
I don't see it happening that way.
Well, no. I actually think that's some sort of fail-safe-like thing. Oh, my God, the Green Lantern Corps has gone bad. I don't know, Eric, but it has clicked in. And like we said, Sinestro's hanging out in the bar while everybody's like, man, Green Lantern's back. We're in. Yeah, guys, high five. And he's like looking and scowling. I think that he's there to say, listen, you quit. Thank God, because I think they're sus, and let's make
I'm telling you, it could always go back to what we had previously, and I think it was in the New 52 when we first started, because that was a very heavy Sinestro, Hal Jordan book when it first got started. Because, Sinestro was one of the Green Lanterns to get in that, but when you had them finally face off, and I'm telling you, I think it was the New 52, when you had the idea, we were once friends, and like, that's the worst part about all this, Hal. we still are, or that we never weren't, or something along those lines. The idea that he's coming back for Hal Jordan because he's the only person he can trust in whatever mission that Sinestro has. And it is just weird because he's a Green Lantern again, and I wanted Sinestro possibly to give him other powers to explore that other way for, like, Hal to be important again outside of the Green Lantern power.
Yeah, it would be cool. And, yeah, just like when, if you remember,
your fear, Jordan.
In that New 52, he ended up where Hal didn't have a ring, and Sinestro's like, well, you can have this one.
It's a duplicate, yeah.
Yeah, the duplicate deal, and I did like that. But I got some feels of that. Like, you thought, hey, we used to be friends. What? We've always been friends. Were. But I always liked the idea that a Sinestro, it happens with, like, Lex and Superman as well. But when you have those kind of deal with the idea of, I hate your guts. I hate your guts, but you do end up, like, you could even go as easy as Sinestro, like, listen, I hate everything about you, but man, you never give up, so I need your help. Whatever it might be.
He's the only person that Hal can trust in this.
Yeah, and you might tie this into Sinestro's daughter. You might tie this into the other Earth Lanterns. You might find out the stuff, but he's there. We'll have to see why and what is going on. And you have that play that, ooh, he's up to no good, but I don't think he is. So by the end, you do get a powered up Hal. In the meantime, he's there. Carol has a fiance, says by the end. And I think it's
that's
pretty
the thing
cool.
Is, Jim, you're worried about it because she said, I have a boyfriend. And then it says, next up, meet Carol's fiance. Maybe he just proposed, Jim. Maybe he just proposed. We haven't seen it yet.
It's odd. But you also have the Demolition Team mentioned. There's a classic. So it's some fun stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. And I thought as a first issue, I thought that I'm trying to avoid it, actually, the idea, because I didn't like the backup. I saw people, and I think that what happened here, you do have a John Stewart book by Philip Kennedy Johnson coming up. I think that maybe we have to get some of this nonsense sorted out as a backup. Then we can get to the solo book, but I don't know why you have to get this nonsense.
Well, it's such a weird idea, because it's spelled out that all the other Green Lanterns were, like, repurposed to different sectors in the universe and stuff like that. Hal quit, he went back to... In our backup, we see John Stewart back on Earth. Seems like he's given up being a Green Lantern, and he's just going to go and see his mom and, fix the shit out and back because it's what John Stewart would do. He'd just show up, I love your mom, here to do it, and she's going to be crying because, oh my God, my baby's back. And then out of nowhere, another universe, another time. We jump to the future of John Stewart's dream world during Dark Crisis, where Guy Gardner and a Padawan of Kyle Rayner are trying to stop the Radiant Dead, and which we all have in that stupid fucking dream world of pariahs where John Stewart was essentially a god and killed a baby monster. And we just have this weird future of this other universe which shouldn't exist anymore because it was a dream world created by Pariah that we then severed. And the idea was, we have to do this because if we sever the dream worlds from people who are actually dead, like an Oliver Queen, are we just getting away from that? That's why Oliver died. And even what we had in the first Green Arrow issue, we changed that explanation to make it so it wasn't that anymore, so Oliver could still be alive. So we're doing this again to make it seem like these worlds are real and still going, or still going on, or now they're just a part of the infinite, multiverse that we have. I don't understand why we're doing this story in a new Green Lantern book for a series of an Elseworld dream world that people hated. Well, I don't know that people hated because I didn't hear anybody talk about, but they were useless books that did do nothing for Dark Crisis.
Yeah, and so you end up having this, and I'm just, why are you doing this? Why are you tying into this?
It was written by Philip Kennedy Johnson with art by Montos, Adriano Lucas, and Dave Sharp for our backup.
Montos. I saw I didn't love the art either.
So the
it's
Revenant
very
Queen.
Similar of the deal, but I don't care about the Revenant deal. I don't care about the Revenant Queen. We'll be reading it because it's part of this, but I'm not even going to. I didn't even put this into my
Green
score.
Mantis. You bring me John Stewart, who murdered my baby. And I will kill everybody and take everything from everybody because I am the Revenant Queen. His world will burn at my hands.
Great.
He's off building a shed for his mama.
Yeah, and the thing is, what got me intrigued at first, I thought we were just going to show, oh, there's John Stewart. He's on Earth too. He seems to have quit. And to make it work out, you have, the TV. There's Hal getting the miners out on the TV in his mom's little apartment or house. So it is taking place at that exact time there of that.
Why would it be different though? They really talk about the idea that Hal Jordan was the only one who quit.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what's weird about it. But if you're going to have this where he didn't quit because he wasn't part of the Corps at that point anyway, so maybe that's how they're playing it, but we'll have to see. But when you go to this
or the idea,
world,
because we talked about the idea about, if they're following along Jeffrey Thorne's Green Lantern series that we have, the Emerald Knights part of, whatever John Stewart became, is this the idea that he exists outside of the Green Lantern Corps because he is a new god, a mortal guardian, where he has his own power because of the Godstorm? Is that what this is?
It might be.
He doesn't count a part of the narrative because of the loophole where he's not a part of this anymore. Gotcha.
It almost makes the renegade loophole that they had back in the DCYOU with
cool,
Hal. There's a loophole, but that's what I think's going on. But I thought, that's going to be cool. Almost like a Space Jam. Oh, my God. We have this. And Michael Jordan, he was retired from basketball so he could be on the Looney Tunes team. That's what, John is now. He can team up. And if we ended up getting that, I'd be down with it. But
don't recite to me the old magic.
This back deal, even the torch that batters back the night. I am the lantern in the dark. I'm like, yeah, I'm not loving this.
I'm telling you, I actually was trying to read it and trying to get into it, but for some reason, it didn't flow by the end. I'm like, did that even rhyme?
Well, it's the torch that batters back the night. I am the lantern in the dark. Let evil cower in the light, all who wear the lantern's mark. And the thing is, the mark in the dark, starting and ending the rhyme, doesn't fall right at the end. Right?
I don't know. I'm telling you, I hit that last line.
I hate it.
What just happened?
But with that, it's not as good as this, Eric.
Brightest day and brightest night. No evil escape my sight. No Warfords, evil mites. Beware of my power, Green's light.
Green's light, Eric. That's for Reggie too. I forgot to put that at the beginning, but I kept trying to make it like I'm emphasizing different words to get that mark at the end, and it just didn't work. It didn't work. But even so, it's a backup, and what I hope is
another time, another universe. Like
I know.
I'm telling you, is this going to be like a Freddy Krueger story where his dreams are another universe that take place 20 years in the future that come to get him because in his dream world he killed a baby necromancer?
You mean like 20 years in the future where we'll have Trinity, Wonder Woman's daughter, doing things?
I don't need any more future state or future dream worlds.
And when we talked about we didn't get angry at each other, but I did say that the idea of the Jeffrey Thorne stuff, it doesn't matter anymore. I'll even hit the deal. It doesn't matter. I want to get something fresh and classic go forward. So then after saying that and getting that, what I think in that first bit, you end up in the backup and I'm like, oh shit. And Wyatt, Philip Kennedy Johnson, people do really enjoy, but this guy likes to grab onto the weirdest shit and make it try to work. He ended up with the Warzoons and Bendis. He's really, if people end up loving Philip Kennedy Johnson because he wasn't Bendis, that's fine. But you better know that the idea that Philip Kennedy Johnson thought that Bendis did a great job in the Superman book and wanted to make everything he did right. And, it worked out for Philip Kennedy Johnson. And I do like his whole war world and stuff like that. But this was not good. I wasn't very intrigued by it. I was more confused of why we did it, and I just kind of shrugged it off and just go with the front up where I get my score. But with that, what would be your score?
Ultimately, it's an okay start to a Green Lantern series, which I really do look forward to because I love me some Green Lantern, and I need a proper series in my life once again, and whether it's going to be Hal Jordan or any other Lantern, but it is Hal Jordan. I hope in the future we can get rid of the backups because right now this is something that I see and I'm like, I am not going to look forward to this each and every month, especially because it's this Dark Crisis Dream World nonsense that's going to tie into Jeffrey Thorne stuff. I didn't have a big problem with the Jeffrey Thorne stuff because, as everybody else did, because I saw what was happening and how, what was supposed to be done with the character and the tie back to former continuity. I'm like, this could have been really cool. It just wasn't handled properly. I don't want to see it anymore, though.
You gave it so much of a chance. You really did.
It just went out off the rails by the end. And even the idea of we got rid of Teen Lantern for whatever reason and that. I have no idea why we did that. Changed all Green Lanterns, but nobody's going to do that anymore. But we're still dealing with some weird offshoots of whatever came of that series to begin with. And we're still going to deal with it here. I wish we wouldn't. I wish it was just Hal Jordan back on Earth. Because more than anything, when it comes to the Green Lantern, I love me an Earth Lantern. You can have all the cosmic space adventures you want. Park my ass back on Earth because I want to see what a hero of Earth does with the Green's light. This is okay. It's not perfect to me, but I'm still going to give it a 7 out of 10.
I'm giving it a 9 out of 10, Eric, because right away I had fun with it. I thought that Hal was done great. And the backup's the backup, but in the front up, we end up doing something that I don't know why, but nobody seems to want to do. Oh my God, Hal Jordan has a ring and he can use it. And that's something that we haven't had in a while with the Green Lantern stuff, especially with Jeffrey Thorne. Lights out every day. Every minute is lights out. And I think that there's some books like this. I think there's some books like this. And
everybody's got to do it for some reason. You got to kill Batman and you got to kill the Green Lantern Corps for some reason. I don't know what it is.
There's, like, if we think of all the other, Dawn of DC books
Superman
that we'll be getting coming up, when we get Cyborg, I'm hoping that we're not going to deal with the stuff of Blue and the Jazz.
Oh, that's old stuff, yeah.
And so when we get even a Tom King Wonder Woman book, I don't want to spend 2-3 months talking about the trial of the Amazons. I want to get a fresh start. And where I think that the big play, I think that this book would have done better, and a lot of them would have done better if they would have all, like I said, I wish they did all come out after the, Death Metal even, or Dark Crisis, but make it seem like, okay, things are new right now. But since we're kind of dealing with stuff, they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. And so it does get that weird play, but I think that this is supposed to be a fresh start. Eric.
Well, at least you have going forward the idea when we have a Cyborg series coming out that nobody has ever continued from the previous run of Cyborg. Even the idea we jump into the New 52, we have a Titans book coming out. The idea that the Titans are now the Justice League of the DC universe, and we have all those one-shots coming out that says, here's the new back origins for all of the Titans. You think anybody's even going to continue the idea that Cyborg got his powers and joined the Justice League?
Here's the thing, though. The Titans book that's coming out from Tom Taylor has nothing to do with those one-shots that are coming out later.
No, I'm just saying, though, but in general, the idea that nobody from doing Cyborg ever brings up what happened previously except for the initial Cyborg stuff, the 1980s stuff.
You want Shazam to show up and like, hey, what's going on? We were in the Watchtower a week ago. What's happening? Like, all that. It's a little weird, but again, I like this. You didn't say fresh start when I said it. I said fresh start. Yes. And that's what it feels like, more of, instead of a reboot, this actually feels like what we did get at that Marvel fresh start. You can just get these books, let's throw them into these situations, explain things for new readers to come back, and let's have some fun. I liked it because of that, and I thought that overall, it feels like we're going to get a proper, Green Lantern book, even with the crazy stuff involved. And I'm excited to see what this mystery is with the United Planets, Sinestro, all that. We'll see. We'll see if it works out. But we'll move to the next book, which isn't a Dawn of DC book, Eric. It's just a continuation of a series.
You ain't good enough to be Dawn of DC, Batman Incorporated.
I love the idea that like a Catwoman is now got the branding, but this Batman Incorporated number 8, written by Ed Briss and art by John Timms, Rex Locust, and Clayton Cowles. Not many people are talking about this book. He said it already. It's not bad. It's really not bad. When you go and read it, it's got something to it, but I can tell that it's not going to be a big hit. You even thought that it might have been canceled. You said that it wasn't. That's not shade. But that's not shade. You know for a fact.
A lot of books were canceled, like coming up in June. I just couldn't remember where we stood with Batman Incorporated.
And this is teetering on that. And again, some of those cancellations were more of it's going to continue later. But this book, you're getting what you're getting. It is a Joker Incorporated story. I don't know why the main Joker here in it kind of throws me off with
of my life, actually.
Everything going on with the Joker.
We have the Batman Incorporated Batman from across the world members going on. We knew that the Jokers, their Jokers from the different, Batman Incorporated members were going to show up. The idea that the Joker is actually the man responsible for putting his Joker Incorporated together, that threw me for a loop, especially for how much Joker we have going on everywhere else and what's currently going on with the Joker right now in DC main continuity. I never saw it coming, though, so I'm like, it's a double-edged sword. I'm like, this is the best thing and probably the worst thing that you could have done for this book because you have the Joker in it, but you also have the Joker in it.
It's weird. So I'm reading it, and I see him on the cover. Okay. I thought that what this was going to be is the idea where you have the Joker Incorporated, these other Jokers, because, again, every Batman needs a Joker. I thought that they were just going to team up, like, maybe at the end, like, man, why aren't we getting the attention we need from the real Joker? And then we find out, well, it's because there's the faux Joker. But they're not going to deal with that. The Joker's just here. And what I thought, there's two things that intrigue me in this. One is kind of a question, like, what does Clown Hunter think of all this shit? Because now we're going right back. Remember when I said at one point, he's going to quit just to get back to Gotham where there's some clowns hanging out.
Yeah.
Well, now they're full out attacking, but yet we don't deal with him, which is really odd to me. And the other thing
He's
is
still chilling in Bloodhaven.
We finally get, now this is a weird play, but we do finally get Wingman, and he starts talking about things about, hey, we know you're Willis Todd. Yeah. Do you think that's
Doesn't
Willis
have the
Todd?
tattoo. He doesn't have the tattoo. I don't know. I'm sitting there thinking these different things because continuity-wise, the last time we saw Wingman, it was Willis Todd in disguise to get close to his son, Red Hood. It was a very odd story during Red Hood and the Outlaws. I can't say it was great, but it was doing something. And before that, Wingman was Jason Todd in disguise in Batman Incorporated. So you have this kind of legacy of they're not really being a wingman, but the idea that Willis Todd in disguise from the Red Hood and the Outlaws book continued on to be a wingman who's now part of Batman Incorporated, and nobody, either they know or don't know, but I don't know why he's here, because what is he the Batman of?
Well, I think that he's Batman. I actually think this is going to be revealed that it's Bruce, and he's there watching them, but it feels weird.
I'm telling you, the situation like that, it's almost like Marvel's Eric the Red, where there's no real Eric the Red. It's just assholes putting on this disguise and calling themselves Eric the Red, where you have a wingman. If this is Bruce coming out here to keeping an eye on Batman Incorporated to make sure that Ghostmaker doesn't go too far, that's a cool situation. I just know when I'm looking at this guy, and Dark Ranger's like, oh, we know you're Willis Todd. It's fine. I'm looking for that Willis Todd tattoo, which was the big thing of that Red Hood series about this being the actual Willis Todd. But I didn't see it here. Jason Todd's father, in case we didn't say that, the idea of Willis Todd.
But even that got a little wonky in the Outlaws book. So when we end up having this, I think it's Bruce watching out.
Well, that's a great call out. Not something I thought of.
When you step in, people are dying, and that's the only thing that I end up getting upset about it. Like, if this is Brad,
people are dying on Batman's watch all the time.
When he's drinking, and I mean, it really feels to me like it's a Matches Malone type deal where he's so over the top, like an asshole because he's playing it up. Yeah, like he's like, hey, look at this.
And again, if he's drinking like that, it's going to be like a ginger ale.
Oh yeah, but he's still like cracking crunching the can and throwing it down and pissing people off. But would you think that if that's the case, wouldn't he know that? It's a weird play. We'll have to see what
does Ghostmaker hang out with Wingman?
I know, but he has been pushed aside. I don't know, but I do think I think it's Bruce.
I imagine it's going to be that situation where both characters, if it is Bruce, it's all hypothetical, and I'm telling you, it's a great call out because that's the best explanation we could have for Wingman at this point in time as far as I'm concerned. But it's going to be each situation where Bruce is thinking that he's playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers while Ghostmaker's doing the same thing. They're both in on it, but don't think the other knows. That
would be great. I would really like
the smartest men in the room.
And the play has been kind of a wink, ambiguous. Well, Batman's not here. They haven't really put it in the idea of, well, he went to this other dimension, he did this, didn't do this, or whatever. But I think that once I saw the Joker in this book, I'm like, yeah,
well, even the idea
Bruce.
Where we had that situation in Gotham, Professor Pig and Batman Incorporated had to step in because Batman was MIA. We were never given a reason. We jumped to conclusions because it was going on in main continuity. The reason he might not be here is because he was Wingman here.
Yeah, and I think that at the end, like you said, at the least, we'll probably get, I'm Wingman and Ghostmaker. I knew that all along. Yeah. He'll end up cut open that orange, pull out that card, and he'll say, "I knew you're a Batman. Get the fuck out of my house."
That's the best reveal ever for you coming up with that. I love that.
So maybe it'll be, but we start out you get a little bit of the character work that I kind of wanted, though I don't know that I wanted it like this with Knight and Gray. Well, they're having some, meal and stuff like that. It's okay.
Some meal. They're having a date at a Chechen restaurant to give Grey Wolf a feel of home. Is it a real
date?
It is in Basil's mind for what it looks like.
Yeah, maybe. But you end up where they're doing this. And, hey, I want you to have a taste of home. He's going to quit because he is afraid that things are going bad back home. And he should be doing that. But in the meantime, they get a call that there's trouble, and we know there is. I mean, Batman Incorporated is going around and ripping everybody apart. We end up having the chief man of bats. He was
killed by
shot.
Yeah. We thought he died in the previous issue, but he was seriously injured by his Joker, Dusty Bronco.
Yeah, Dusty Bronco. So we're going to have this, and it starts to get very personal, obviously.
Well, yeah, there's Jokers attack across the world, but different Joker attacks for different Batmen.
And I think that we're going to get Ed Brisson kind of using this book as yet another investigation into the idea. Do we allow these characters to keep killing people. And it's the Jokers of each of these characters.
Raven Red wants to murder Dusty Bronco for sure.
Seriously, Raven Red goes and really spells it out even more than you really need to. It's like, he really gets into it.
I am Raven Red. You have killed my father. Prepare to die.
Yeah, so you have all that, and you seem to be setting up that idea. Do we allow these Jokers to not die like a Batman does? And that's why I think at the end you have, Wingman step in. Hey, everybody. He's like the undercover boss, Eric. He's going to jump out and say, you're all fired, but we'll see. And really, it's going to be it is kind of his fault to get them all involved. And that's how Raven Red even has this idea of he didn't do this, didn't do that, whatever, but this sucks. And I want blood. And then we go off to France, and we'll just continue seeing.
Charles de Gaulle is getting people all infested, I was going to say infested, with Joker gas, killing everybody left and right. But ultimately, what you get around the world, you have attacks. You have certain Jokers being broken out, like in England, you have Die Laughing, which is a great name, being broken out of there. But when you have Dusty Bronco, Alpaca, who is the Batman of China's sister, and his Joker, you have Corvus Call, you have the Joker, Die Laughing, Tap Dance, the Joker of Argentina, and Charles de Gaulle of Paris, who's just a black and white mime, which is great as well.
Yeah, Tap Dance, that's the worst.
Tap Dance? What's he talking about?
Charles de Gaulle, though, that's pretty good. So you have all these.
Look, Tap Dance, it looks sinister as hell. I don't know. He scares the hell out of me when I look at it. Look, I'm telling you, he is a pseudo kind of Bozo the Clown wearing almost like a nightgown kind of hat that's pokey. Maybe like a pseudo wizard hat. But he's freaking armed to the tits like a goddamn Spawn. He's got freaking bandoliers and machine guns. This is a terrifying clown. He's gonna tap dance on your grave, Jim.
He is pretty stacked with those guns. Look at him. He's double fisting, Eric, just like you on Friday. So you end up, even when we started out the issue, we didn't even say, but the idea, Beiji, it's more personal. Alpaca is the sister. We know this. Yeah. And that's something, if you had read the whole new Superman Jean Luen Yang book.
It seems like he's almost out of Batman Incorporated for how disappointed Ghostmaker is in him and everything he's done for Batman Incorporated. Especially now that Alpaca got over on him, got the Doctor kidnapped, and the idea and she's your sister on top of all this? What do I need you for, Batman of China?
I do like when he says to Beiji, listen, you stay here. And he's like, no, let me make it right. No, you done messed up enough. You stay here. And when I see something like that, I'm like, okay, they're putting him on the sideline because a lot of these characters are going to die, and they don't want Beiji to die for some reason, but we'll see.
Well, even in Paris, when we have, the Joker attack there, and Night Runner's overwhelmed by his Joker, and this, people that were taken over by the gas are just Joker henchmen of this Paris. It looks like Night Runner's going to die, too, because he calls for backup, and nobody's in the area, because even when you have Dark Ranger and Wingman, they're in Australia, it's like Night Rider needs some backup. Yeah, maybe we'll get to that.
It is one of those, when you call up for backup, you better call a couple days ahead of time. You better have some precog things going on.
This is Batman Incorporated, not Batman down the street.
Yeah, really, Batman in the neighborhood. But, we hardly knew ye. Right? It seems like he's going down.
But he looks badass. You don't get enough of Knight Rider for how cool he is.
We haven't gotten enough so far, and in this issue, it really does shock me that we don't get more of at least a look at Clown Hunter and what he might know and see about all this, because
I can't wait to get more Clown Hunter for this, for all the clowns, for his half the backpack.
I mean, really, it's like his Christmas. But you have the Wheel of Jokers, and it does get on Tap Dance, and this is for El Gaucho, and they're not going to be able to. You would think they're not going to be able to go and save these people in time, so we'll have to see how this all works out.
I just love the idea that Joker has his own stage set up with the Wheel of Jokers to figure out who's going to cause some havoc around the world next. Okay, it's Tap Dance this time. What are you going to do, El Gaucho and Ghostmaker, now that you're here and facing me? Because I know that your ass isn't going to kill me, Ghostmaker, because you were just in Gotham the other day, and word on the streets is you's a bitch.
Yeah, and the funny play of this is we said this about I Am Batman with Jason. We ended up, one of the things that we did like about that, not a lot of people love that series, but when people realized it wasn't actually Batman and they freaked out, oh my God, this isn't Batman, he may kill us. I love the idea that the Joker is really pressing into Ghostmaker, and this guy is he's an inch away from just slaughtering everybody because of what he is all about.
I'm telling you, we talked about it in the last issue when we had the Professor Pig 2-shot, the last 2 months of this book. The idea where Ghostmaker is not willing to kill. We needed more of the idea where it's really a hard struggle for him not to go. And even the idea where we wanted him to sacrifice Ratcatcher to prove a point to all these assholes in Gotham, because we need Ghostmaker to be Ghostmaker and not just a Batman light, because he has been neutered by his code that Batman has to do right now, or like Batman has gotten to it. So he is really just kind of mismanaged in this book to the point we have the Joker pointing it out to us in our faces. Like, look, word's out, buddy. You ain't killing nobody. We're not afraid of you no more.
You know that's driving Ghostmaker nuts. And
but we also know, maybe we have a whole bunch of disposable Joker assholes right now, but you know Ghostmaker's not killing the Joker. So
I know he's not killing the Joker, but maybe here's the weird play is I think that the way Ghostmaker plays this up, and not in this book, but how he normally would, if he does agree with, Bruce, listen, I'll go by your code. And as the kids say, he's a bit nerfed there, but I think he would have set up something where he'd pay somebody to pretend they got killed by him, disappear so that he could at least say, look at me, I still kill. But boy, the word's on the street. And you know that
Killer Croc's telling everybody.
You know that has to drive him insane. Professor Pig probably went off and ran his mouth. Who knows?
I don't know. You ask Professor Pig, he's like, that Batman Incorporated killed my mama.
That is true. Was she ever alive? Did she ever live?
Laszlo's mama was fine and well at one point.
I like this book more than a lot of people. I think me and you both do.
Well, it's
those
weird
are the
because
things that intrigue me, though. I'm so intrigued of how Ghostmaker will end up dealing with the idea that the word on the street is he's now neutered by Batman. He's not going to like that. And I don't know we're ever going to get more of that because you never know.
I'm even more especially intrigued with your idea that Wingman is Bruce Wayne. Because once they said your will is Todd, I'm like, well, this is horse shit, and I hate that explanation, especially for how dismissive you are with that knowledge. Because I want to know more, but maybe we are playing the long game where this is Bruce, and I love that idea. You have a Ghostmaker here who I like because he is the more intense Batman, the Batman who's willing to get shit done, essentially. Maybe even a Batman who laughs, if you want to call it that, because he's the Batman who essentially wins wherever he fights crime. I want to see him
or the Grim Knight.
Or the Grim Knight, exactly.
You know what I mean?
I want him to struggle more with this choice that he's made, and that's why when he was in Gotham the last 2 issues, I wanted that to be a real problem, except for, even when, Nightwing just, kind of dismissed him for him saying, look, I would have killed these people if it wasn't for Batman. Yeah, whatever. I'm like, no, have Ghostmaker be Ghostmaker.
Here's what I love about Ghostmaker, and the thing that gets me is this play of, and I saw some people like, boy, Ghostmaker's really going to struggle now because Man of Bats is on. He doesn't give two shits.
He's a psychopath. He don't care.
Yeah. What does he care about? His reputation. And the Joker just threw it right in his face. Hey, buddy, you don't do shit because you're neutered. That, I think, is one of the only things that could end up driving him insane like that to actually go to kill somebody. And that's where I think Wingman steps in and says, no, I'm actually revealed.
And then you have Ghostmaker versus Batman.
What you have to do is have the Wingman, he takes off that helmet and there's just a cow underneath. It would be Kiss on Mask.
He takes off the helmet, but it's still a cow, yeah.
Yeah, it's still a cow.
Another cow underneath the cow.
You did it. That's what I need. But I think that with that play of always I can't do this, you would think that he would be keeping tabs. That's what I think. And I think that would be pretty cool. But if it is, and again, conjecture.
It's the best explanation.
If it is, when does Batman step in to stop this nonsense? Because things are already getting out of
I'm telling you, in my mind, while I'm saying, for some reason, in my heart of hearts, I feel that it was announced that this was canceled. You say it wasn't, and I'll go with that because I trust you in what you say. But for some reason, this feels
now you're
like
getting
a book.
Me worried.
It's the last arc that's going to end this whole thing, and we're going to have a mini series that comes off this from the ending of this, where it is going to be Batman versus Ghostmaker for everything that goes down in this arc.
I saw some people and they would like that. The thing that's weird about it is, it did seem like we were going to get more, you say, of Clown Hunter, but that's kind of seemed like it's kind of pushed aside. And maybe, though I don't know that and don't think it's been announced to be canceled, maybe they already know that it is. You know what I mean? Right. You're not going to end up announcing it way ahead of time because then what little sales you have and the book isn't selling well, but it would go down. But if you're going to play that game, it would probably be, 12 issues, and then it would end, and we're not to those solicits yet. So we'll have to see how that goes and what.
Probably issue number 8. I feel like we've been in this series for a while.
And yeah, the one thing, though, that works out is this book, I do believe, is going to come out during the night tears, the spookiest months of the year, night with a K. And that gives you something else to read. And then when that's done, it would be the 12th issue, I think, would fall in September. So you just kind of end it. And it would be a shame because I think there's something to this book that I enjoy, but I don't see or hear anybody.
I'm actually surprised because you did not want any parts of the Joker Incorporated when we had that coming up. And even the idea that we had that.
I didn't love. Once we got past that, I'm enjoying it more now.
It's such a weird idea because I get more characters. Don't get to learn about the other characters or the new characters. Like I said, even having the Joker in this series is a double-edged sword for me because, hey, it's the Joker, but also, hey, it's the Joker. You can go either way with how you want to take that. But for some reason, it does add a bit of importance, especially for the whole idea that he called Ghostmaker a bitch. And I'm like, you know what? I need to know how this is going to affect Ghostmaker in the future, and I really care about the series now more. Not this series, but this arc more than I thought I ever would.
I'm with you, and I'm kind of excited about it. But when Joker starts talking
Dusty
that
Bronco
bullshit, when he starts saying it, he really is pointing out the idea, like, you're Batman Light. You know, he's neutered you. You could have... And so you kind of still get that idea that he's still playing the game of you could be better, like Joker always does about the Robins, but you have this play of you're not really better. That's when I thought, oh, this must be Bruce because of that whole play there. But we'll see. We'll see. Having him out of nowhere, this makes no sense. But it's Bruce dressed up as the Joker. He's starting all sorts of shit after it's not. I think it's Wingman.
About this, I'm telling you, the idea that Bruce is Wingman, great twist, great ending, great, reveal that we can have that you threw out there and blew my mind. But what about this little nugget? Because I was just thinking about it as you're going off. Yeah. What if Wingman is very unceremoniously just Willis Todd and he wants to kill the Joker for killing his son?
Maybe. And he wants to get close to him, and that's why he's scared. I don't know.
Could that be a fucking turn where he all of a sudden pulls out the goddamn crowbar and goes to town?
I mean, we could get us, it better not be Jason. It better not be Jason.
That boy's way too thick for Jason.
And again, it better not also be, in my mind, it was Dick Grayson because he ended up being told by Bruce. That's what I'm saying. When I saw him, I'm like...
He does look like a Bruce, that's sure.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. But I'm intrigued by this.
I like the Bruce thing, but now that we have the Joker involved and a wingman who's supposedly Willis Todd, I'm like, holy shit, where could this go?
That would be cool, though. And if you're going to do something and play it up and make it clever and smart, and that would be pretty cool. So we'll see.
And then Ghostmaker has to go against his, instincts and everything he knows to pull Willis Todd back from the brink and say no to murder.
Now, obviously, if you're going to cancel the book at 12, you want to cancel it with the idea of Bruce finally, even if it isn't him as Wingman, saying this isn't working.
Yeah.
And a great way to do that is the idea that they almost all kill their Jokers.
That or this Ghostmaker goes back to being Ghostmaker, yeah.
Yeah, well, Ghostmaker quits. You already have Grey Wolf. Like, I want to go back home. I think that maybe it is the start of the end. Again, unfortunate, but not many people are reading it. But what would you give it?
Ultimately, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think the art is great in this series, and I think the concept alone is pretty good, even though it is just, hey, here's some Batman Incorporated members that we've barely touched upon working together, and no, they have to fight a Joker. Oh, no. Like the idea, like, freaking Night Runner gets taken down. Oh, no, not Night Runner. We hardly knew ye, but... It's okay because you are setting up this...
Night Runner than we have, though.
Yeah,
right?
He got his ass kicked and might be dead now. But we have the idea of these different Jokers as well. It's just what we talked about previously with almost every issue of the Batman Incorporated so far, where it's just characters stacked upon characters, where you don't get enough. And you do have a time in this to get to know certain ones like, Knight and Grey Wolf more than you did maybe previously if you're just a part of this. And even Dark Ranger and Wingman living together in Australia, all kind of weird odd couple.
I want more of that. I want that side book. It was Odd Couple.
Wingman's a slob. Dark Ranger can't take
it. The cigar, throws it down, and then Dark Ranger goes and gets it with the umbrella. We'd have it all, Eric.
It's great, and either like the idea of the Joker, you can take it either way. Either there's too much Joker, or like the Joker here elevates the book more than you ever thought it could. It's mixed for me, just beyond the idea that the Joker calls Ghostmaker a bitch. I like that aspect, but there's always things like that are pushing and pulling me through this book where I like it, but it never raises itself beyond everything because it always feels like there's something that's weighing it down as well. So that's where I am still here, but I look forward to the next few issues and what could possibly be the last arc. Who knows? We're making shit up now about where we take this Joker Incorporated story.
And you said at the beginning I was really down. I was down from the beginning from that annual. I thought that there were too many characters. You weren't introducing them. What I don't mind about this Joker Incorporated deal, you have a bunch of Jokers, but you know what, Eric? They're Jokers. You don't really need anything more. If I said to you, hey, what's up with that Charles de Gaulle? You go, black and white mime Joker. You don't need more than that. It
sure is scary.
It's self-explanatory. It's that character's Joker. So you don't need more than that. So that, all those kept, but when we ended up having mentors and things in that first arc, and then we, on top of that, had
the
other
Dark
things.
Batman Incorporated.
Oh my God. Those characters weren't self-explanatory. You didn't know what was coming or going.
Batman Thor and the other one, Batman Noir.
Exactly. But here I could say, you asked me, what's tap dancing? Well, it's El Gaucho's gun-tooting Batman.
You
said it. Tap dance is on your grave. There you go. That's all you need.
Dusty Bronco, the cowboy Joker, the rodeo clown Joker.
That's all you need. It doesn't need any more explanation. So I did like that. And I'm intrigued by this book. And even that little deal with Knight and Grey Wolf, you actually get some character work, and you get some other things with Raven Red. I mean, that actually is some feels where you get a little character work. And we needed that from the get-go. It might have been too late, is the problem. But
I'm sitting there with Raven Red, like at his father's bedside on the verge of death. I will avenge you, father. I will kill the Dusty Bronco. I'm sitting there the entire time where I'm supposed to have the feels. Hey, what's Cloud Hunter up to? Because that could be really cool right now.
Again, also, and is that Clown Hunter with them there with the Mohawk? I don't know.
That makes sense. I was so wrapped up in Raven Red.
I was sitting there, who's this guy? What is that, the lead singer from Rancid? I had no idea. And I'm like, Rancid. Oh my God, maybe that's him. But he's just kind of like there with his hands in his pockets and stuff like that. But what happens when you get to the point where Raven Red is like, I'm going to kill Dusty Bronco? But you're going to have to stop him. But, that's the intrigue of it. But seriously, if I'm Man of Bats and I'm laying there, I don't even care if I'm in a coma, whatever. If somebody says to me, as you said it, listen, father, I will avenge thee. I will take down Dusty Bronco. I still would laugh. I'd be in a coma, start giggling. Dusty Bronco. It's so ridiculous, but I like it. So, yeah, you get all that. And again, I hate to start making up reasons and almost excuses of why I'm positive about a book, but it feels like this is a book that nobody talks about or likes, and I think that they should give it a shot, even if it is on the app. Give it a shot, see what you think
now,
of
the thing
it.
Is, I'm looking at this. Did Cloud Hunter have a mohawk? Because I know does his hair just stick through his helmet now? It's not this head to hair just stick through it.
I think that maybe he's just like, I have a brand. I have like that mohawk too. Legitimately, when he takes off that helmet,
for some reason
he's gonna have to glue that shit up. I just thought it was some random punk
bebop and rocksteady looking guy was.
I think it's him. It makes no sense. Why does he? I don't know. Maybe they're like, well, he kind of has a mohawk helmet, so he's got a mohawk himself. And like you said, I thought it was like a brush coming out, almost like a Marvin the Martian type look deal. But no, I don't know.
The dude doesn't say anything the entire time he's on panel either.
The lead singer of Rancid, Eric. You'll have to look that up later. You'll laugh. But we'll go on to the last book of this section, another new #1, Eric. And I was really interested to see what you thought of the Green Lantern. Spirit World, I wasn't that interested in what you thought, but I thought that it was good because it wasn't horrible. That's how I'm going to go into this. But
it's a Dawn of DC, Jim.
It does say Dawn of DC on it, Eric. That's what I was just going to tell you. So it's important. So Eric Shea better pay attention. Spirit World #1, written by Alyssa Wong with art by Haining, Sebastian Chang, and Janice Chang. I must have said Janice. Why would I say Janice, Eric?
It's reading's hard.
Does that make any sort of, deal?
Look, I've heard you do the roll call. It makes sense to me.
Screw you. You start off now, if you ever wondered what happened after Monsters Incorporated to little girl Boo, what happened is she slipped and fell in the street and almost got taken down by
No. If you ever wondered what exactly, if you ever wondered what happened to Boo in Monsters Incorporated, it turns out she was filming a scene for the beginning of it because she's about to get sucked out of drain to pipe during a freaking rainstorm. Because I have to assume she's chasing a paper boat made by her sick, stuttering big brother.
Eric, it's It Incorporated. Where's Sully? I'm telling you, I ended up talking to some people about this.
Pennywise.
I seriously did laugh when this girl slipped and started getting rushed down the street. I don't know why,
bad is
but it made me laugh. It's bad.
Because I'm telling you, she's a small girl, but what the hell is going on where she's almost sucked down a storm drain?
Well, she's a little girl. I mean, she's there. She's not afraid of Sully or Mike, but she's there. Pennywise is going to get her. And
thankfully,
so I did
Xanthi Zhao, our main character of this story, is able to pull her out of the danger before things go worse, make their paper magic into a real umbrella so she can scamper off home and not get more wet than she already is, and not get brutalized by a clown in the sewer.
That's a very wholesome start. What I also like, and I'll start this off really by telling everybody, listen, I'm not an Alyssa Wong fan. I've told Eric this. If you've listened to the Marvel stuff, she does the Dr. Aphra, which I think is complete garbage right now, and does one of the most unfunniest Deadpool books that you'll ever read at Marvel right now. I'm not a fan. I warned you about Alyssa Wong saying that, I don't know, I'm not a big fan. I like this issue, and I think that it's set up in a way that's very basic, but I'm glad for that. This is one of those dark magic books, and you don't get pretentious. It's just seemingly for fun.
For the things that you get in this, the idea of the spirit world and, Xanthi coming from the spirit world and being in Gotham and have to get back, and the idea that Batgirl herself is stuck there, and you have all these monsters of this.
Batgirl, yep.
Cassandra Cain being stuck in the spirit world, where everything there is dead, not alive, and it can sense the living of her and wants to consume her life force. So she's pretty much has to kick ass and take names in the spirit world to stay alive there while she's stuck there. While Constantine and our main character have to try to get there to save her, plus get Xanthi back. There's all this cool stuff that almost reminds me a lot of like a Monkey Prince situation.
It does remind you. If you like Monkey Prince, go for it, because it really does remind me a lot of Monkey Prince. It really does. And yeah, you're right. What I like about it too, just little subtle things that I think Alyssa Wong does a good job with. When you end up having Xanthi just save this girl from Pennywise, right?
Right.
Pulls her out. But she's not used to dealing with living people and little girls. She's like, hey, you better watch out. The spirit, like she almost is there scaring this little girl she just saved.
Look, this is good advice.
Yeah, it is good advice, but she's not used to doing this. She's used to delivering stuff and doing stuff in the spirit world.
The rain's going to wash you away if you're not careful. It'll take you all the way to the spirit world. How you like them apples?
Yeah, and she's trying to be nice but she's not used to dealing with little kids,
kid's
obviously.
Crying. Here's a paper umbrella. Bam, magic real umbrella. That's cool, right, kid? Scamper off now. Watch out for clowns in the sewer.
Waves, probably slips, falls right in the sewer. It's fate. But then you have, and one of the things too, and I'll tell you, I may end up sounding like I'm gushing about this book, but my main deal is it did not annoy me as much as I thought it would. I mean, that's kind of a backdoor shade, but I thought it was going to be horrible, and it wasn't. So I was actually excited about it, because in that one-shot deal, in that, they even give mention of it. Yeah, you ended up having one of the worst Constantines I'd read. And it seemed like Constantine was in the story to be bad or horrible to elevate Xanthi. That doesn't seem to be the case here then. I like seeing the idea that the only reason Constantine is really helping Xanthi is because he wants to get them out of their hair. Hey, I want to get rid of you. I'm going to help you, but I'm not really into it. But you kind of think he might like her. But you end up where you go in and him getting attacked by all these cats because he's taking care of Mr. Nguyen's goods and sundries. That's fine.
Yeah, Mr. Nguyen likes the kitties.
Yeah, come in and like, hey, what's going on? Puts feet on the counter. Oh, man, don't do that. It's funny to see Constantine trying to play the responsible adult as well, even though everything he does is going to go sideways and he ends up screwing over everybody, really. And even that, I think that you have that from Alyssa Wong, where at one point you even get to mention, oh, your friend this. Oh, he's not my friend. And that was pretty good on the nose for a Constantine who has favors that he owes and other people owe him. He's actually showing how great a character is by kind of cashing in some of these favors that might be used for something very personal to him.
Which, honestly, it might be a favor that he's doing to get a favor from Batman. Like, hey, I saved your Batgirl.
I mean, that's the thing, and you get that play. This isn't the, oh, Constantine is neutered here because you're trying to elevate. No, they're just trying to get and really trying to help get Cassandra Cain back, because once you end up spelling out what is going on and we see it, Cassandra's in trouble, right?
Even the idea outside of, all this, yes, Constantine's a scumbag and a con man, but something magical was really disturbed right now, especially in Gotham City, where a collective of souls are coming together to become these monstrous beings. They're like, hey, he knows something about magic and he's here. He might have to do something about this before shit gets out of hand on his watch.
Exactly. And so they give the mention, hey, when it's raining, you kind of get the thing. And you even say, well, why can't you get back to the spirit world the same way you came here? Oh, I went to my grandmother's grave and I get closed up, so I have to do this. But you have Xanthi who's very concerned with Cassandra.
Lazarus Planet rain that screwed up everything.
It did. And so you end up where Cassandra in the spirit world, I even like the little deal with Constantine, who hears all this and says, that Batgirl can handle herself. Like, we have to go save her, but she can handle herself. We'll get to her. And Xanthi, I hope you're right. I like that. I like that Constantine knows of Cassandra enough that she's a tough cookie. She's going to be able to hold her own. I'm telling you, though,
it's such a weird idea because in the spirit world, she's befriended by two people to take her in and make sure that she's hidden away from all the creatures of the spirit world to smell the life on her that want to consume her. Who all does, I'm telling you, when you're in the spirit world initially, you just have what look like people walking around, mingling, having themselves conversations while walking down the street.
Right?
Gossiping. They smell some life. All of a sudden, they become elongated plastic man necks trying to consume people, and they become Beetlejuice monstrosities. And I am just so lucky she's able to find these two people. Maybe it's a forced situation who are like, hey, we're going to help you because we got to get that smell of life off you. We're going to cover you up, put some magic on you, make sure that we can hide you until you can find a way out of here. That might be a little forced for how the spirit world, like, we're told is and how the majority of it is. She's safe for now, but just imagine if she didn't find these people, because essentially she'd be like Dean when he's in purgatory. It'd be a nonstop fight forever because everybody wants to eat her. And like, what kind of like, this is almost like the idea of Superman Lost, where we don't know what happened to him for those 20 years in space, or even how time works in the spirit world opposed to the mortal realm that we all live in. Her being in here could seriously wreck her, bring her back to the point where she becomes the, let's say, status quo to Cassandra Cain, where she's had all these improvements over the years now that she's been reintroduced, where she just goes back to being the silent weapon because that's all she can do to survive in the spirit world. But no, we can put a little pin in that because she's taken in and she's protected for a bit. So we can have Cassandra Cain being a nice, I'm going to say nice girl, but no, this being able to be somebody in the spirit world where Xanthi and Constantine are trying to get her back.
She ends up having some allies that can give her the lay of the land and help her out, which I like. What I thought of is when you get there and you have the people there, you have these ladies and they're talking, and once they smell Cassandra, suddenly they're being drawn by Riley Rossmo, Eric. Holy moly, you don't need that. But when she ends up going to Bowen and Popo, then it really, like, that's the part, like, if you read Monkey Prince and, like, maybe the story never played out right, but if you like the feel of it and you like the fun of it, you really get it there. You really do. And it's funny you said that it's kind of forced, but what I thought about it is it is forced, like a Star Wars, Eric.
Well, to a degree,
that everybody runs into somebody who knows the other person.
No, I agree. It is like that, but it is somebody that at least Xanthi would know in the spirit world and like is a good person of the spirit world as well.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you find
it's an ally of an ally, but yes, it is right there. But also, she went through the gate that Xanthi usually, so it makes sense to be in the same area because I don't know how big the spirit world is. Is it a city block? Is it a world? I don't know.
Yeah, and so I do like where this poor, like right away you kind of like Bowen because right away gets drop kicked and like the idea of like really being a klutz, it's kind of fun. And Popo is like Yoda. I'm in there.
A sweet old lady with magic and an emerald staff.
A lot of people are upset with different things in this. I just thought it was a nice beginning. I didn't say, and I argue with some people about this where people didn't want to read this because they said this character won't be around in 50 years. Well, if you're going to do that, you might as well give it up. I mean, I'm having fun reading it right now. Whether Xanthi becomes a big character, whether we never hear about Xanthi again, I like this, and I like Cassandra. I like the way Constantine is in this, and I'm actually enjoying Popo and Bowen for what little we get as well. But we end up having Constantine, hey, I have this favor. I'm going to go. We're going to have this necromancer, Easton. We're going to go to his place. And I do even like where you get to see the little powers with the,
with the paper,
that we had earlier.
The paper transformation that they are able to do. And even the idea where you get the background of the spirit world, where what people have in the spirit world is based off of what is burned by paper. It comes to life in the spirit world and it gives the individual spirits whatever kind of like monetary gain or like, just whatever physical stuff they need in that world. So even the idea where you have people walking around in the spirit world where they're all pissed off because ain't nobody burned shit for me in a while.
Yeah,
you have all
like
this going on, but people burn so much money in the mortal plane that monetary value means nothing anymore. So I'm like, that's kind of funny too.
And that kind of plays out the smart way of what we get in, say, the Wonder Woman book all the time. Oh, the gods are mad because they're, an American gods. This is different. And I like that idea where you can then burn something in the real world as a tribute or whatever to that. And they get that. I think they're going to play with that a lot as we go forward. But you end up this necromancer. He's not around, and Constantine's like, well, we're going to go in here, and we see that he's been kind of, taken over by the collective.
Taken over by the collective. Another collective like we had in that Lazarus Planet tie-in story that started this whole thing off as a prologue. So it seems like whatever these things are, this collective of nastiness, they're going into the mortal realm and becoming big bads that previously Cassandra Cain killed when she got her ass stuck into the spirit world. And now we have to do this again, hoping to find another gate where these things are entering, as well as so we can exit back to the spirit world and get Cassandra.
Yeah, so instead of being able to use this Easton, the necromancer, to find out where this gate is, because he would have been able to do that, they're going to end up weakening the collective and follow them back. They're going to follow the spirits that go back. Yeah, but the problem is you kind of get a little bit of a snafu at the end that I think becomes a Sophie's choice. But when we end up going back into the spirit realm, I like the Cassandra stuff. And I like the Bowen and Popo, and you get more of an explanation of the world. This actually, in the basic things of it, it reminds me of a manga a lot, where you're going to just give us characters, power sets, and a lay of the land. Then we'll get to the big story. But the big story is very easy. We have to save Cassandra. There you go. And I want them to do it.
And that's what I was here for. That's the one thing that actually drugged me into the idea of, like, I might care about the spirit world, because Batgirl is stuck in the spirit world. This new character in Constantine are going to work to try to get her back out. And when we have that going through here, where you have both the idea of the spirit world and the mortal plane, which we're like doing like dual story. When we were following the collective spirit to like figure out where the gate is as it's moving its way out, there we end the story with Xanthi coming across her mother, who believed that Xanthi died 15 years ago, because they did. And now they're back now. And now the idea, like, oh my God, I'm confronted by my mother. What do I do now? I'm like, oh shit, that's a hell of a hook I did not see coming, because this character seems so out of time for the idea that 15 years ago is all that they've been like, dead. They're back on the mortal plane. I'm like, I need to know where this goes, because that's interesting drama, and I love me some drama in comics.
And the drama is, does Xanthi then want to stay? I mean, there's your mom. You have your mom back, and they have to go, and almost seem like it's a flip-flop exchange where if you go and get Cassandra. I'm kind of pissed off
that they refuse to tell us Xanthi's real name, because it's all scratched out and all their the dialogue balloons when the mother says, like, so-and-so, your name. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems
it's just weird. Like, why wouldn't you say that right away for us to know?
I don't know. Maybe it's one of those, like, ghost names that you can't say. I don't know, but it's...
The ghost name's Xanthi.
Now, the funny thing of this is, and I think it was Matt Razor who was giving me some shit because I was talking about this book to him, and he ended up saying, isn't Eric going to give you shit if you say that you really like Cassandra in a Xanthi book? But the thing I said, this isn't a Xanthi book. This is a Spirit World book with these three characters. Yeah. Xanthi's the new character, and one that I'm sure they want to maybe catch on and continue. But this isn't just a Xanthi book. And I've told people when they were pish-poshing it, if you like Constantine or you like Cassandra, there's enough here to actually enjoy this book and be introduced. But
plus a new character who has powers like Paper Cut from The Flash with origami powers. And I'm like, I could dig that. That's fun.
But again, you're going to get people. Alyssa Wong ends up writing other things that people didn't like. But I'm always willing to give, especially when
familiar with her.
Well, it's because it's the Marvel stuff, and especially when you flip-flop between. If somebody at Marvel comes over to DC, even Aaliyah Williams, I gave her a chance. It didn't work out with that Power Girl page, but we'll see. But this I actually was impressed with. This is a book that I thought, again, I don't want to seem like I'm, like giving backdoor shade, but I really didn't think that I was going to like it. I thought, okay, here we go. It's going to be one of these convoluted stories. But when I read it, it's not going to change the world. If the solicit says it's going to change the DC universe forever, it's lying. But I enjoyed the characters in it, and I enjoyed the story. It's basic enough for anybody to get behind. And then at the end, you have the drama. So it works out. I thought I liked the art.
That pushed me over the top with art. I like the art in this issue.
I like the art, and I thought, especially digitally, the colors in it pop. You get a lot of purples and greens and things like that. It
now,
really
I can only hope that what we get here, because these 3 new books have been announced with City Boy, The Vigil, and Spirit World, they're a hard sell in my mind for a lot of people for what's going on, because it all comes out of Lazarus Planet, which was a bust for, I want to think, most people out there. When you have this, if those other 2 books can even be close to what this is, I'm excited because they're all hard sells. This is the one that I thought had the best way of like maybe reaching
it had
people,
your
because
entry
it had
point
and exactly. It has Constantine and has Batgirl, so at least you have that. The other ones, they're kind of on their own outside of like City Boy's connection to the spirit of Gotham, but beyond that,
it does get you a little bit more hopeful, right?
I can only be a little bit more hopeful because like maybe there is something behind these books that I can enjoy down the road, because this give it a 7.5 out of 10 because it did not blow me out of the water, but it did grab a hold of me by the end for everything it's doing right now because of this drama with Xanthi and their mother, because I'm like, it's not something I thought I needed until it happened at the end.
And it makes sense. The background is we know that Xanthi is from the spirit world, dead. So seeing Mother saying, you've been dead for that makes sense. And that is, oh my God, like I never thought that was going to happen. Obviously, we wouldn't because this is a new book.
How often you're going to see Cassandra Cain kicking the shit out of ghosts in their own realm?
Yeah. And again, a lot of times when you get these things like you had in that intro deal that, you know, the Lazarus Planet deal where it seemed like you were kind of nerfing Constantine. In this, it really does give you a Cassandra very impressive, even with Popo and the deal. Like, really, you killed the Collective. Like, this is something unheard of, but she is that kick-ass. So you're reminded of that. It's pretty cool. So I'm giving it an 8. You gave it a 7.5. I did a video review of it when I was talking about it. At the end, I did say exactly what you said. I'm more willing to give the Vigil and City Boy a chance now because, boy, if it's, you know, like this, maybe I can jump on. And I'm only in it for this mini-series, have some fun. I said, Monkey Prince, we didn't ever think that was going to blow the doors off of the DCU, but we end up talking about all the books or most of them anyway. So why not have fun with a book that is fun? I mean, there's no reason to be negative about every single thing. There's enough shit to be negative about than to actually bring your, you know, nonsense in and get pissed off. But all
and this
in all,
seems to be and the idea of a spirit world and whatever your afterlife might be. It is Chinese mythology, and this could be the Chinese sphere of the gods and how the spirit world works with that. And that's what you're going to have accustomed to this whole situation. So that's what you're getting because that's what it's dealing with. So it works for me because, like Monkey Prince, we're getting that sphere of, like, you know, theology, mythology, and you're getting that understanding because it all makes sense within the DC universe and how the sphere of the gods work.
I like it too. Like in that vein, it's not getting overly complicated. It's not trying to force, you know, this. It's easy to comprehend.
Everything's fine and simple in the spirit world until you smell some of that sweet, sweet life. Then you just want to suck the shit out of it.
And you turn into a Riley Rossimo character with a long ass neck. I don't know what happens. I don't want that to happen to me. But yeah,
that's called addiction. Like we all got monkeys on our back. Apparently, they got huge ass monkeys. They got gorillas on their back in the spirit world. Can't help yourself.
I love that those ladies are just gossiping away, too. So you already know they're pieces of crap. And then everybody just goes because they don't seem to be able to help it. The H has hit the town.
Pardon me. At this point in time, they might as well just be the sequels from Fighting Nerd. Mine, because they all go after her.
That's pretty good. But that's it for the first section. Pretty positive. Pretty positive section to start out things. I don't know that the last section will be as positive, but we're going to go off right now to some positive mail and see how that is. All right, Eric, you ready?
Yeah, man.
Ready? I don't know how to transition to this. We'll be back with some mail. It is time for the mail, Eric, and if anybody out there in listening land wants to be part of the mail section and be a star just like Eric Shea,
me?
All you have to do is email us at weirdsciencedc@gmail.com, but you have to email us or it's not allowed, says Eric. He's just trying to limit the stars, he is. But we have two mails tonight. We have Steve. Oh, no. Here we go.
Just like me.
Is it from Big Dick Andre? Is he sending something right now? Oh, yes. Fat Dick Andre. You're shaming. The first email is from Steve, who says, hey, guys, badass hockey broken back surgery. Steve here.
What's that, Steve?
Steve had some problems with his back, but he does play hockey. He says, been a while since I've written in. Just wanted to say that as Eric is ripping on Jim saying, who the hell would want to sit with you and watch your shitty old hockey tapes? I have all these VHS tapes in the basement.
Break out my VCR, bring it to your house, hook this up to probably a TV that won't even hook up to it so I can watch you play hockey on a shitty VHS from 30 years ago. This is how I want to spend my evening. Hey, can we drink? Oh, no, there's no drinking in this house. Oh, cool.
No, I don't drink, Eric. And so with that, what you get, though, is after the hockey tapes, you didn't realize that we'll watch more hockey tapes. I got a ton of them. But I have some basketball stuff, too. We could all do that. Baseball. We'll have fun. He says, I was at that same moment assembling a net. So he was actually making and putting together his hockey net so he could shoot in his backyard because he misses playing. Yeah, but he's just saying, I just want to look back at the days, right? Back at those days. Oh, my goodness. So he says, so, Jim, I'll gladly watch crappy old hockey tapes with you. That'd be awesome. If Steve comes and meets me with the VHS, we'll sit there and we'll laugh Look at that guy. You'll see me like, man, all I'll do the whole time is talk
Belly
about
flop.
how, man, I used to be in such good shape. That's all I would say the whole time. And the hair just a flowing, Eric. But he says, suck it, Eric. Hockey men stick together. Why don't you go throw a baseball or something?
What does that even mean for me?
The thing is, the best is he knows that you can't throw that either. So
I
there
can
you
throw
go.
a baseball just fine.
If we set up a target that was, say, 15 feet away, you think you could hit it? You think you could hit it? Now, and I'm talking like it's the size of a barn.
My depth perception and eyesight is something that's really terrible, and you got to make fun of a handicapped person, you fucking little monster.
Well, you made fun of me.
It's
in my
creature
hockey
behavior.
game. Oh, my goodness. But, yeah, and then he says, so we watching Don Cherry Rock'em Sock'em 95 or what, and I'd love Don Cherry is a combination of one of the funniest, just the funniest things you'd watch, but also the most awful, hateful people who's ever lived. But he makes me giggle.
Look, I've heard the podcast.
Yeah, well, there you go. Maybe I did end up modeling myself too much on Don Cherry. It might have been, but I love the idea. Don Cherry, one thing, he hates European hockey players. He had Russian, all that. He just hates non-Canadian and maybe throwing a little US because he's a hateful guy.
Wow.
The tirades he would go into about Jaromir Jagr, a pure gem, Eric, still playing to this day.
I know.
Boy, Don Cherry hated him so much, but that was Don Cherry.
It is going to hate.
He's a hateful deal. You have to look up, because I don't think you know much of Don Cherry. You have to look up, and you will, no matter what you look up Don Cherry, he will be wearing the most ridiculous-looking suit that you've ever seen in your entire life, and it will make you chuckle and look like he doesn't have like a neck kind of deal with the suit. Very odd.
He looks like a televangelist that does it on TV and just goes barn to barn.
So you looked it up, right? And
yeah.
Does he have a ridiculous-looking suit on no matter what
he
picture?
Does.
He does. He's crazy, that guy, but he is a Canadian gem, I guess, but he's kind of a hateful guy. So there you go. But he's too old. He's one of those guys that's been around way too long and is too old to care about being canceled. So there you go, Eric.
We call those assholes.
Yeah, well, he kind of is. I never liked what he would say about Jaromir Jagr. He didn't like those players. Yeah. Thank you, Stephen. I agree. And me and him are going to watch. Maybe what we'll do is we'll end up.
You guys do you. Hockey bros stick together.
If Steve came over right now, we'd break out the Genesis. We'd play a little, maybe the NHL 94. We'll play some of that.
Okay. I thought you went to band. I don't know.
No, well, we could maybe.
We're going to listen to Genesis while playing the Genesis.
No, I mean, seriously, and the idea of this, we break out the Genesis play.
We'll have Don Cherry read us the book of Genesis.
Right? We'll watch the hockey tapes while also listening to like Triumph and Rush. I don't love Rush, but it works out.
I love Triumph.
And, Triumph will do all that. As me and Steve are sitting there doing this, you'll see almost like a transformation in the Michael Jackson Thriller video. The mullets will just start growing out the back. We'll end up having mullets by the end. It'll be awesome. But yeah, Steve, that is a date. But we'll continue on with Craig. Craig says, hey, a question or two, if I may. Usually Craig says, hey, what up, Jim? What up, Eric? So you could say the what up, Craig, that you say.
What
but
up,
he
Craig?
Says, a question or two, if I may. What's the best arc you've read since the podcast started? And that's it's a hard question to answer.
Forever Evil.
That's the weird thing. I thought Forever Evil as well. In my mind, I thought, well, that's an event. So I thought, but I'll go with that. An arc. But I also like that 3-issue Tom Taylor deal.
That's
really Batman
good too.
Superman. We really like that. And people are amazed because a lot of people don't like it now, but it's not as good as Forever
outside
Evil.
of the Doomsday Clock or maybe the Rebirth DC Universe special. I have not had the feels for anything more than the Forever Evil with the idea of the new crime syndicate and this new Justice League taking them on and just being completely overrun by this shit. Yes, the beginning of it was convoluted with Pandora's box opening a portal to fucking Earth 3, but once we get to it, it is amazing.
When we get to Mazaz and stuff like that, it was
oh my
crazy,
God,
right? Yeah, it was crazy.
And then the birth of the baby.
Yeah. I was thinking of other things, and when I was thinking of it, like things that what did I really like? And say, not that I liked it, but the death of Damian, I didn't really like the arc. That was that moment is one of my favorites.
That was a great issue, though.
Yeah, that was.
Batman Incorporated itself was a hard series in my mind, but that issue that killed Damian, so much damn heart in that, it's impossible not to love. for the saddest reasons.
Even something as crazy as the Grayson issue or the singing issue that I really did like, but a lot of the stuff was convoluted in that. Yeah. Remember how that ended with Lansing and Kelly just had to clean up that shit, and me and you lost our minds. Didn't know how that outfit happened there. We went on. I think I even edited some of it out, like Jess would tell me, but it still ended up over like 40 minutes of us just arguing where these clothes came up. But we were arguing about the same thing, but kind of against each other. I don't know. But there's been a lot of different arcs and things like that, obviously. But I do think Forever Evil might be one of the better things that we have done. I was
so into that. All the tie-ins, everything to do with that series, the good and the bad, I wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah, and also like the lead into Tom King's wedding issue, number 50 of the Batman.
Shut your mouth.
Or the Nightmares arc, Eric. How did we forget about that? The Nightmares. I actually think that one of my favorite things might be that first arc of Tom King's Batman, though.
Oh,
and
yeah?
that really kind of ended at
Gotham?
issue 5, the I Am Gotham deal, when you ended up having Gotham die. But even the idea that I thought Tom King, he played us because where we didn't know that they had to kind of sparingly use their powers, and they ended up getting attacked by Killer Croc, and like Solomon all that Grundy. Seemed very Solomon Grundy. Sorry, it was really clever. It seemed, and it all fell apart. But
sure did.
Yeah, I think Forever Evil will be the deal. And which book were you most disappointed to see canceled?
Now, the thing is, I actually struggle with the situation because I can't say that this book was canceled, except for it was stopped so we could revamp to a new number 1, but it goes along the lines of Forever Evil. I'm a basic bitch like that, but the New 52 Justice League was one of the strongest series there had been, and like the whole thing of going up to the 52nd, or is it 52 or 53 issues we had of that?
It was like the 52, and then you had some wonky shit too.
It actually continued on past Rebirth, and then it finally ended, and we got back to the Justice League, a new number 1 with Brian Hitch doing that, and I hated that so much, but that Justice League was so good for the revamped New 52 and new status quo that we were doing. Like, I didn't like the Amazo virus arc, but that was like one arc in that entire series that I didn't think was great overall. And I couldn't wait to get in each and every month to get a new issue of that. So when that ended for a new, new number 1 with a new creative team, that broke my heart, especially coming out of the Dark Side War.
When we had the Dark Side War and that even had Jessica in it, we were getting involved in that character.
When she was weird. The Power Ring?
Yeah. It's weird.
It was so good.
Books canceled. I'm still struggling with it. I ended up at one point, the funniest thing, the book that came to mind, something you didn't even deal with, and I was upset, but then it kind of did come back, but I didn't like it as much, was Justice League 3000. When that ended up, because I was so into it, and then it came back as Justice League 3001, and that wasn't as good. But when the actual Justice League 3, that was like kind of my little book that I ended up, a bunch of people did enjoy it as well, but maybe even stuff like Batman Beyond 2.0. I mean, I struggled with it, the idea, because most books that get canceled, they kind of deserve to be canceled. And I will tell you, I was really disappointed when the Firestorm New 52 book was canceled, because it just got back to the basic status quo. Like when the New 52 happened, a lot of good things happened, but a lot of bad things happened as well. And the new status quo was when you had 2 Firestorms. Jason Rush and Ronnie Raymond were 2 separate Firestorm beings. That's why it was the Nuclear Men in the title. But then they would combine together to become the gigantic monster called Fury, the Fury of Firestorm, the Nuclear Men. That's where all the titles came in with that. I hated that Firestorm so much, but after the 0 issue, when it revamped everything and got us back to a new status quo, where it's the Firestorm that you knew, that's right when the book started getting good, and that's right when the book was canceled. I have a better answer, and it's a funny play. It was maybe Animal Man from the New 52. You know what?
Yeah.
I finally got into it. Like I didn't read it from the beginning, and then all of a sudden I even started reviewing it on the site. I caught up. And then it got canceled. I'm like, oh, it's so good. All that stuff, going on with his son and things like that was really, heartbreaking and whatnot. And then it just kind of ended. So that might be one that I can. That Robin series ending too with Damian Wayne was really disappointing. The idea that it was canceled ended. Yeah, that is. And I mean, even stuff like the Batgirls. You're really worried about that, right? You're so upset. All right, but there it is. I'm going to go. And stuff that again, it's always going to be these side little books like a Frankenstein Agents of Shade. I wasn't upset that it got canceled, but it was a shame that not more people read it. And then afterwards, I bet people are out there like a Demon Knight, stuff like that. That was kind of a
Red Lanterns.
Steel Red Lantern. Actually, Really? Because when we got to the point where everybody was so into it finally in that whole deal, and then, Zilius and all that stuff,
it took most of the series to get really good in my mind when Guy Gardner became a Red Lantern and then took on Arkillo, became the leader of the Red Lanterns, and we had that suicide mission where all our main characters died. That was
really good.
That was amazing, but where do you go from there? Because you've already burned the goddamn house down to leave. I'm telling you, our final arc for that was Guy Gardner walking around with a baby that was a rage freaking, and it was weird.
Yeah, it was weird. But yeah, a lot of that stuff people were starting to really get into. That is a good play. People forget about that. Also, man, you were actually into like the Swamp Thing deal.
Yeah.
When you ended up having all this stuff with
Queen?
Charles Soule with Machine Queen and stuff, it seemed like it was getting interesting as well. And then that kind of got canceled because Charles Soule at that point I think that was when he left DC and we're like, oh, well, they just canceled it. So that was a shame. So there are some ones that we came up with, but thanks, Craig, making us walk down misery lane. That's what he did. Now, I'm glad he asked that because it makes me smile, some of the crazy things that I remember us talking about and losing our minds about, too. Both good and bad, but that's it. That's the mail. I'm still waiting for Steve to come over. I think if we were going to drink beer.
Why are you not here yet, Steve? God.
We would probably have like Molson or like Labatt or something.
Not everything has to be Canadian because
no, it has to be. That's what happens. I mean, if you're gonna have Don Cherry, Eric, that's all he wants. But yeah, we'll watch that. We'll end up. I did the other day out of nowhere. I did watch this documentary that I had on Wayne Gretzky and just sat and smiled the whole time. That's the stupid things that I end up doing. So good. Also, they have a lot of videos where it's like Bob Orr, Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux sitting around talking about hockey, Eric, and it's awesome. I just sit and smile. But there you go. I don't talk to you about that.
You're Chris
stuff
Farley
you
over
don't
here.
like it. It's awesome. I think there are maybe 3 people because I think if I met Mario Lemieux, I'd lose it. But if I met Paul McCartney, Gretzky, or Lemieux, I'd be Chris Farley. I wouldn't be able to say anything.
I don't want to meet any like hero of mine because I would just be stupid and have nothing to say. So I would just feel awkward and out of place. And I don't want them to hate me and remember me for being that awkward fool.
But at least the 3 people that I mentioned from everything that I've read or seen, they are decent people as well. Yeah. So they wouldn't be like, don't meet your heroes because they're jerks. I think they would just be like, this guy's got problems and walk away. Hey, thanks a lot, Paul. Hey there, Paulie boy. I wouldn't know what to say. You know, I really wouldn't. I would probably
not me either.
I wouldn't even.
That's why I never go to any of those celebrity panels where you get autographs, any kind of con, because I'd have to talk to them. Like, or I just throw like, here's a picture, sign it right away and not say anything. Like, I don't want to stand out any way because I would just feel stupid the rest of my life.
And you would kick yourself because I know you would be very, very excited. I'm telling you,
never let it go.
I was just trying to pretend in my mind what I would say to a Paul McCartney, and I would end up be like, hey Paul, you gonna redo when I'm 64 because you're 80? I'd say something stupid. Get the fuck out of
I don't want you talking to people in general, let alone people you look up to.
Oh, it'd be. I probably I know that it would turn into me wanting to mention John Lennon, and that wouldn't go well. It's a pretty big shame he got shot, right, Paul? Like that sucks, huh? Do you think you guys would have gotten back together? He'd be like, get the fuck out of here. And then Lemieux, I'd be like, pretty cool that game that you scored a goal every possible way. And he'd say, damn right. Let's go shoot in the backyard. I'd be like, you got it. And then I'd go back and realize he meant heroin. I'm like, what happened? I didn't know you did heroin. He's like, there's a lot you don't know about me. I'm my own man. I'm like, holy moly, Mario. What's going on? I realized I did not go to Mario Lemieux. I went to Mario, this guy down the street that lives in an alley. Again, I'm like, you ain't the magnificent one. You're the guy in the alley. And he's like, fuck you. And then I get in a fight with him. I kill him. Now I'm in jail.
No, you're knifed. It's Mario.
Yeah, probably would be. Mario would knife me. Probably. I'd be like, why, Mario? Why? And he's like, because you attacked me. And yeah, I thought you were Lemieux. And he's like, what the fuck are you? You got more problems than me, pal, including that gash that you're dying from. And then I die with a smile on my face. I met Mario, I'd say as I die there. I told Zach the other day because he just got a hold of me, out of nowhere, my son. And he says, hey, what's going on? I said, I'm probably, in the middle of dying. That's the deal. And he's like, no, don't say it. And I said, listen, if I go and I end up realizing I'm dying, I'm definitely giving 2 middle fingers so that when rigor mortis sticks in, you can end up seeing how I felt about all you assholes. And then he hung up on me, Eric. Oh, jerk. Right? There you go. This is why nobody likes me, Eric. Nobody does. But with all that, that's it for the mail. I guess Steve likes me, though. But we'll go off. We have 2 more books that, I may like less than my kids like me. We'll see, but we'll be back with a bit of super section to end this podcast in a couple of seconds. That is Eric Shea, but I don't think Eric Shea's back. Oh, there you are, Eric. I thought that you ended up going away and leaving me because I hit
Goodbye, everybody.
Well, I hit the song before I actually kind of talked to you, and I thought, maybe something is happening over there, and I messed up, but I didn't. Here we are, Eric. Oh, my goodness, it's going smooth. Here we are in a not-so-super section, I'd like to call it, but I don't know. I don't know what you'll think of these books, but we do end up having
Dolphins.
Superboy, the Man of Tomorrow, which we're kind of shoving into this week's podcast because we have a ton of books next week, but also it came out on the app digitally. So if you don't want to be spoiled,
because we have a ton of books next week.
Yeah, and if you don't want to be spoiled, then you can kind of look at the show notes and the timestamps and go forward. But I'm not going to spoil anything before we get into it. But we also have Superman Lost. I think we should have a vote by the end if we want to go 10 issues of that nonsense.
Do we need a vote?
There's a split. Well,
who's voting here? It's unanimous.
Me and you. I was going to do a keeper or crapper, but fuck it. I actually almost said to you, let's not even do it. If there was more books tonight, it wouldn't even be on this week because that book sucks. And I don't care what anybody says. You can like what you want. But the idea that people want to fight, and I'm not reading this or that or whatever, and then I see people praising that shit.
I want to love this book because
I do too.
We talk about, every time we talk about Superman Lost, the concept of a broken, out of touch with humanity Superman coming back to Earth for what's 20 years to him, but like a few hours to everybody else. That's an amazing story to touch on. The only problem is you don't get any of that story in this series. You get to see his adventures for those 20 years, and that shit's bullshit.
Yeah, and I'm telling you right now, people get mad at me. This is like your Jack Kirby
Do they
hot
attack
take.
you?
Maybe. But, yes, Christopher Priest's Black Panther was really good. Christopher Priest's Deathstroke was good, and then it kind of faded. But there's a long stretch between there, and even since, that is a bunch of bullshit. The guy is one of the most overrated comic book writers out there, and I can't take it anymore. And that Superman Lost, lose
and
yourself, get the fuck out of here. Yeah, I'm not pretending shit. That book sucks. We'll talk about it very quickly by the end of this section. Fuck that. I'm flushing it, Eric. We might get this done quicker than we thought. We'll go through the issue just to make me lose my mind. I think you'll be joining me. But what are we starting with, Eric?
We are starting with Superboy, the Man of Tomorrow, number 2, written by Kenny Porter with art by Genoa Lindsay and Lucas Catoni. And in our previous issue, we saw Superboy thinking to himself, man, there sure are a lot of super people on Earth taking up all my spotlights, and there's not much for me to do. So what I need to do in this world that has forgotten me, I need to break out on my own. I need to go to the great beyond where no man has gone before, to space, to show them what a Superman symbol is and make sure that people know the name Superboy. The only problem with that is Dominators are out and about doing clone stuff. Superboy's getting the mix of it, and then he's freaking thrown right in the middle with these freedom fighters called the Cosmeteers, who are clones as well, who think that he's working with the Dominators and just one of the clone super soldiers that the Dominator super scientist has thrown together to stop them. That is our little mismatch, mixed signals. What's going on? Now we can fight. Now we can become friends situation. But ultimately, we're going to deal with Superboy on a ship being locked up for the majority of this issue.
Yeah, and again, when I talk about stuff, when we argue about the Joker, the man who stopped smiling so much, the idea that I lost my mind when you said, yeah, but I like what we're getting from Manhunter, Kate Spencer. The reason why I got mad about that was we had already gone so far into a series. But me and you, I was ready to fight. I mean, physically fist fight you at that point. I said, you giggled, and then it was fine.
I guess.
But even then, that's, hey, I'm a passionate guy here. But the idea, the reason why I was mad about that was because we had gone so long without any sort of story progression. Then you got Manhunter, so I was angry. Having the Cosmeteers here isn't quite the same, but by a different token, they're not that interesting. So I end up going into this. So you have a non-interesting thing going on. But they're just like
Superboy.
You end up where I'm thinking, okay, you're still going with the classic. I'm going to stop them clones. You might as well pick up X-23 along the way. Get her, Gabby in here, Laura, all of them, they could go. So by the end, you end up a Cosmeteers that isn't really doing anything more than what we thought Superboy himself would do. So why have that? And when you get to the point you said it, Superboy is just locked away, thinking about how he wants to do Superboy things and how these Cosmeteers, they're going too far. And by the end, the best thing I could say about this is it definitely feels like a digital first winner of a round robin tournament.
Agreed.
That's what it feels like. And if you don't mind that, it's fine. I like the first issue a lot better than this one. That first issue, I actually was surprised how much I was kind of getting into it. But this issue takes a real big step backwards to not only just give you nothing, but a lot of convoluted shit on top of that where I'm like, okay, what's going on? I don't even like the idea that Dominator X, who is doing all these experiments because he's mad that he wants to, but now he's selling off. Why would you sell off things when your big concept was, I want to take over everything? Even that's just silly.
Because the Dominators, they ain't down with the super.
Well, no, that's what I like.
Super soldier clones. So the thing is, I got to go off of my own, do a little enterprising, sell off all my super soldier clones to the Kuns. I don't know why you
sell them. Like the Kuns.
Who doesn't need money?
Why do you want the Kuns though to be the big bads? You're doing this because they spell it out where the Dominators aren't doing enough. So I'm going to do it. I think you just stop there.
I just imagine, though, here I am, Dominator X, Superman scientist of the universe, who's all about making super soldier clones for some grand scheme to take over the universe, okay? I'm not getting the appreciation I need for my own race, the Dominators. But you know what? I still think that the Dominators, they're fucking dominating out there. So what I do, I'm going to use my research, my time.
You're getting free agents?
I'm going to send these out. I'm going to sell them because, cloning people ain't cheap. I'm going to sell them to the Kuns, and they're going to think that they're unstoppable with the new super soldiers. But you know what? Me being the creator of these things, I got a kill switch. So when they get in the way of the Dominators, they still dominating.
I will say one thing. When I hear Dominator X, I love it because I think of Terminator X, the DJ from Public Enemy, and it makes me smile.
I think of Author X, like the Dominator. You can't know the identity of.
Dominator X it kind of flows, but I want him to scratch a little, do his deal. But by the end, I'm like, why are you selling that? You want to be the Dominator. You want to be Dominator X, but then you're because you end up having to make the story. I don't know. It just kind of is one of those things that seems to be, okay, the story has to be bigger. You're going after the Kuns and all this stuff, but it gets a little convoluted. It gets to where you're like, okay, well, and even the Cosmeteers, well, we're going to stop them here. And we kind of stopped them there. And we did these planets. I just want Superboy to do some things in this. And so by the end, I was not that intrigued going forward as I was after the first issue, because this team of the Cosmeteers just aren't that interesting.
You have Superboy setting off on his own to make a name for himself in the universe because he doesn't have enough going on Earth, apparently. He can't talk to anybody he was friends with for story reasons. So he goes off, gets in his head into more than he can control at this point in time. And now he's just going to be captured by the Cosmeteers. All right, we're going to learn, oh my God, your story checks out on Earth. You are who you say you are, so we're not going to keep you locked up anymore, and we're going to work together. Superboy's going to get all high and mighty and how you're supposed to do things because he's got an S on his chest, and that's all he can do in the L family. But mostly it's like, all right, you want to learn about who we are, the Cosmeteers, and how Dominator X went and took Zudarian DNA and Maskian DNA and Daxamite DNA and then made us into super soldiers until we got too out of hand and escaped, and then we made it our life's mission to fight back at all the things that he does, even if people get hurt in the process. Oh, you don't want to know about that. You're going to be in for a rude awakening this issue because you're going to get it. And all I could think about with the idea, all right, we have these characters, these alien characters who are just cloned from, doesn't matter, different species, right? They're their own person who are given superpowers. Like, Amaskians, they can grow and shrink. Mostly I think about them as shrinking, but Pyra pretty much, mostly grows in this. But they also have fire
grower,
power.
Not a shower, right?
Who isn't? But you have the Zudarian one. She's got Speed Force powers, something along the lines of Metagene. But I don't need to know this because I'm sitting there. What else does this mean? Because you have our main character who's a Daxamite of the Cosmeteers, and I want to know, did the Dominator X breed out your lead weakness? Because this is the reason that the rest of the Daxamites can't leave Daxam, because they're going to die, because out in the universe, there's a lot of lead. So on top of having superpowers, did he get rid of your weakness? Because that's a big thing in my mind.
Are you sitting there, you're like, I really like Trav, but I'm more of a Rotorza kind of guy.
Who isn't a Rotorza guy? She's got Speed Force somehow.
I don't, that's the thing, though. The characters are, you name them as they're talking.
My God, you said Trav, because I'm sitting there, I'm like, the Daxamite. I could not remember Trav's name.
I was actually going to quiz you, but I knew that I wouldn't know unless I wrote them down, which I did. I'm not going to pretend that I remembered these characters.
I remembered Pyra.
And So you end up, that's kind of easy with the whole deal. But even
with that, with her Maskian, they misspelled it in this issue because there's no A in the mask. It's M-I-M-K-S-K.
Only one who knows that. You're the only one. But even my biggest problem is the story pretty much stops right there, and we introduce. It's fine to introduce, but introduce it more in the way of not having Connor in a cell, not involved. I mean, the idea that it's, okay, Connor, we capture him, we put him in a cell because, boy, he doesn't want us to do the bad stuff.
But we're doing the good stuff, just not good enough for Superboy over here.
The way you get a flashback is like, hey, I don't want to be torturing you. Have a drink with me while I wax poetic about our origin, and then just leave you still in the cell. Throw an inhibitor
collar on you.
And put an inhibitor. And then you have Kenny Porter, who seems like...
Now!
You have to play the idea that he can't get a hold of everybody because, well, you didn't have to do that either because he didn't want to. He wanted to be out doing his own thing, but it's just, why are we doing this whole thing? Because I don't know where you come back from. I don't want to be on your team because you killed people. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, okay.
You know what, guy? You're right. We ain't gonna kill people no more. You're a Superboy, and we want to be super people, too.
It does. You said it. It feels like the generic... hey, we fight until we're friends, but you still have that roadblock of you kill people. Why couldn't you have played the idea where Connor thought they were killed? Oh, I saw you take you mean the people right here in our bay because we're taking them back somewhere? You don't get that. They're just going around killing.
The ends justify the means,
so
boy.
All you're going to end up having by the end, and you even have it because there's Connor. Hey, you shouldn't be doing this. And while I think it's Pyro, while they're doing their thing, do you think that he might be right about that? I'm like, what? You already did all this shit now just because you showed up and said, this isn't the right way? No.
That guy might be right.
It's so forced, and it just, again, it feels like a lesser book that was a round robin winner, and it's a digital first. The idea has Dawn of DC. We already discussed this. This happens before the Dawn of DC. They're just putting that to try to make it sell. It's not horrible, but it's what it is.
And it's all the Connor you're going to get for the most part, because even in Action Comics, you're not getting a lot of Connor.
By the end of this, I think this issue is pretty horrible, but yeah, it's your favorite Connor book right now. Right?
By the end, when Connor breaks himself out of his little, ship prison cell and then goes and saves the day by taking out this other super soldier clone and, making sure that everybody else, is able to survive their entanglement with this Dominator X super soldier. He saves the day. They get the hell out of there. They're chased out by some Kun soldiers who have a warship. They're going to blast the hell out of them because they don't have a shield that can take on this kind of firepower. And we have Connor on the back of the ship using TK powers to act as a shield. This part is amazing. I want more of this every day of the week. But when you have a book that's full of all the background of the Cosmoteers, which should be something that you should be interested in if you are reading this book, that's a big part in my mind. You should be. But I spent this issue sitting there. Well, did they breed out the weakness of the Daxamite Wet? And then when I got done with that, when Superboy was able to jerry-rig his inhibitor collar to get off, and he talks about the idea that his Kryptonian powers are coming back before his TK powers, then I'm thinking, while I'm continuing to read this and not paying much mind to the story at hand, would an inhibitor collar work on Kryptonian powers when they are not a metagene, but inherent just to his physical body? They are not any kind of different things. This is who his body is. Would that be able to inhibit that? Because how does it take out something in his natural body?
The guy is drunk.
I think you're drunk.
Exactly. Do I need to be thinking about these things during a story, though?
No. And my biggest problem is end up like the Cosmoteers. We only got at the end of last issue. They showed up. Yeah. Hey, Cosmoteers got them. I think that you're introducing this origin and backstory an issue too soon. I know we only have 6 issues, but still, I need to care about the characters before you give me that background. And the background's only we were cloned.
And it's just X-23 stuff. Everything's a clone, and we got to take care of the other clones because we're all clones, and clones are good unless they're made to be bad. We can't have that clone power.
And I love that. It's like he made us. We were the best clones. But then we that's what he was trying to go. I tell you, Dominator X, wicka, wicka, whack. He's doing all that. But I'm telling you, this section of books is going to be very quick because there's not much that happens, and I thought that it was pretty bad. I was a little more pleasantly surprised at the first issue, and I even in my mind saying, okay, this is just that side type book. It's not going to mean much, but at least we get Connor. He's out doing his own thing, so it's not going to affect continuity. But then you get to this, and everything just turns to shit in my mind, and I'm not interested anymore. But hopefully next issue will change that. But There is a backup, Eric.
Which,
and,
I'm telling you, I was just about to ask you, hey, did you know there was a backup?
No, I did not, Eric, and I thought that you did. So
Because I just got to this, I'm like, holy shit. Because
I forgot.
Now that I'm seeing this, I remember that we had the backup to the previous one, and it was a bullshit.
It was bullshit.
It was a bullshit story that I hated and never thought about again once we were done with it. I see this here. It's like Round Robin 2022 finalist, Kid Flash, The Speed of Fear. Because as you were going to get done the whole thing, I'm like, I thought this was an advertisement for a new book when I got done. I just turned the page down.
I didn't even see it.
About this?
We done fucked up, Eric. We didn't come prepared.
This whole thing where he's like, it's Kid Flash, Wallace West, being like attacked by the Reverse Flash with a Sinestro Corps symbol on his chest. It looks pretty good. The problem with it, like the previous Cy Spurrier one, if you were into that, which we were not, you're only going to get a few pages of what that book could have been. So I'm really disappointed with the idea. You get 3-4 pages of this whole, The Speed of Fear, which could be cool. With you and I always wanted the idea of Wallace West being confronted by his father, Daniel West, the Reverse Flash who died in the Suicide Squad, him coming back and confronting his father about this. It looks like this could have been along those lines. I don't know that for certain, but the idea of The Speed of Fear, it's definitely Kid Flash coming up against possibly Parallax, the Fear entity, and something along those lines, which seems cool because you don't get enough Wallace West in my mind.
And stuff like that with Wallace, and we don't get a lot of Wallace.
Very disappointing because not enough pages to do anything here, except for maybe wet your whistle for what could have been, or just be disappointed that you don't get more.
Yeah, there you go. And I feel bad, but I actually, when I was reading this, I did not see the backup.
No, neither did I.
I hated that Cy Spurrier backup so much last time that I might have even...
And I'm not going to tell you right now that this is good, but it looks interesting, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it does look interesting, but we'll never get more of it, it seems, unless people really get off.
No, we're never going to get more of it. No.
Do you like when you have Surf's Up at the end for Connor? Because,
I do.
Serving, what would you give this issue?
Ultimately, this is a disappointing issue for a series that it's not going to win people over just because it's Superboy, even though a lot of us are just Superboy Connor Kent fans and want more of the character. But this being a round robin finalist with the Dawn of DC slapped on it doesn't make it better than it is. And ultimately, it's Connor in space, but he's not the main character of this issue. And hopefully he gets back to being the main character of his own book, because this is just kind of a down issue with clones doing clone things against bad clones and dominators. It could be cool, but this issue is not one of them. It's a 5.5 out of 10.
I'm a 5. I'm just a 5.
Could be a 5
it's
as well.
Okay. It's okay, but it's
I enjoy the art.
Nothing much going on, and it's taken a dive from that first issue that kind of, like I said, I was pleasantly surprised that I didn't mind it.
Me
now.
as well.
John Wayne was losing his mind in the Slack, but I thought, well, you have to kind of get that angle of what this really is and what it isn't, but now what it is pretty bad, so I'm not enjoying it.
I think I'm going to go down to a 5 with you for what this is ultimately.
Join me with a 5.
Because, Jim, did Dominator X breed out that lead impurity inside him?
Whack is what he did, Eric. He's like Terminator X on the wheels of steel over there. The next book, though, because I want to give the Superboy Man of Tomorrow number 2 a 5 so that I can at least be somewhat positive in this section, because what's next, Eric?
Superman Lost number 3, written by Priest, with art by Carlo Pagulea and Jason Paz, Jeremy Cox, and sweet Willie Schubert. And like we talked about at the beginning of this section of books, the super section, this is all about the idea of Superman being lost in space for 20 years, coming back to Earth, out of touch, PTSD, and not knowing how to be himself anymore, and the rest of his friends trying to figure out how to help him. All of that sounds amazing. But for this issue, Superman is trying to make his way back home with his personal, support system, his rocket pack, everything that he has, his little solar suit to keep him with his powers as little as they can be out in the deep depths of space away from the yellow sun. And what we have is the idea, I'm going to hitch me a ride with them space dolphins that Lobo told me about, because they came to Earth before. They must have a secret way to get around beyond light speed that I don't know about, because if the Green Lantern Hal Jordan could do it with his ring, maybe the space dolphins that Lobo loves so much can do it too. And while I'm out there, I'm going to tell a planet full of microbes that can come together as one being and one mind to say, we don't like people coming to our shit. We can tell them to lower their nets down because the space dolphins are getting caught in the tuna nets.
You don't need the space dolphins caught in the tuna nets. Now, the idea, like you said, the concept of Superman
love it,
stuck in space in a deal that being Superman isn't helping. That's very intriguing. And then the idea of when he gets home, how he's going to reacclimate himself, where everybody has kind of, been doing their thing, but here he is, and they don't really understand, the trauma and things that he's gone through. That's very, very intriguing.
Along the lines of John being stuck in a volcano for 7 years, but somehow coming back magically fine, this Superman at least is affected.
Oh, yeah, and so when you're out and about and you're doing this, and even you start out with Lois, wondering what's going on, she finds the...
I don't get this beginning.
But it's nothing. All that is you have to show some of what's going on.
Lois is writing a story about a crooked politician who, did all these things. She gets mad at, life in general, throws that, and then gets mad at Clark because he threw his clothes in the closet. I'm not your goddamn maid, Clark. And then finds a smashed up device to talk to him in space and his solar suit. And then we jump to the past where Superman was lost in space.
And that's why I think it's like one of those where we're supposed to get that Lois, because she doesn't understand exactly what he went through, she's frustrated at this point, but doesn't realize the frustration that Clark went through. But when you go into space, you have
we're
things
not going to get to deal with it.
Well, we're not. Well, and when we deal with what we deal with, the idea, oh, man, I ended up getting this whole solar suit and this whole deal. And then there's the space dolphins. Why does it have to be so fucking convoluted? Why can't we just get the fuck back to Earth? I know that you want to show that.
And this entire time, as Superman makes his way back to Earth, where he's been months in space, traveling as fast as he can, the computer keeps telling him, because of his worries that the guy Victor in the previous issue who ran the planet that Superman calls Kansas, he's worried that he's not on the up and up, and the computer keeps, do you want to go back to Kansas?
Do you want to go back to Kansas?
We're going to go back to Kansas. And I'm telling you, at this point in time, for how much they talk that, we have to. And why are we going to prolong the idea? It's just because Superman, hey, I'm Superman and something ain't right there. I better go be Superman.
I'm going to disagree with you on one thing, Eric. I ain't going back to Kansas. That's what I'm telling you. I'm not going back to shit.
Jimmy ain't in Kansas no more. He ain't going back.
So you end up where you have this whole play. How far away am I? Well, the computer can't fit. Well, theoretically, we have that over and over. And so what
a theoretical minimum of 14,000 light years.
Would you like to go back to Kansas?
And how many kilometers in one light year? 9.5 trillion. Right, cool.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's ever used the Chat GP, the Chat AI. This is I want to ask the Chat AI, is Eric Shea an asshole? And I want a funny response. That's what I'm waiting for. And it'll be,
you can do it right now.
I do not make assumptions of people's... I'm like, fuck you, ChatGPT.
Can you tell ChatGPT a little bit about me so it can make its own opinions?
No, it won't. It ends up being lame, and that's what.
I don't do your AI Terminator stuff because I am worried about the end, unlike all you heathens out there.
So what I think that is really going on, and it might be a brilliant move, we're finding out that it is boring as shit in space because I'm bored reading this. I don't want to. You can tell me Superman was bored as shit in space. I don't need to see it. I don't need to be involved. He's
you
just
ain't coming
sitting
back
there.
Right.
Well, here's the thing, though. That's what he's trying to do, but we're 3 issues in, and I'm bored as shit in this, and I don't want to read it anymore. So why are you doing it? The idea that he's going to seemingly show us, instead of the repercussions that we're interested in seeing, we're just going to have to go through space where he's told, do you want to go back to Kansas? No. And then he'll even say stuff like, man, the rent's too damn high. Don't understand the vernacular. Get the fuck out of here. I'm so fucking bored with this story.
I just understand, though, outside of the individual Superman capers that he's going to find himself into, the space microbes catching the space dolphins in their tuna nets to keep people off their planet from destroying them. I just imagine, what we have with the idea of, Superman in space. Remember that character, the bounty hunter, at the last episode of Firefly, Jubal Early, when he just launched into space? You end the entire Firefly series with him floating in space. Well... Here I am. The end. And that's just Superman here. But he has these little adventures. But your little adventures are space dolphins getting caught in nets of a planet's defense system.
It's the deal of, and I get it, but what's the overall deal? Superman follows and, kind of gets the draft from these space dolphins. I don't understand space dolphins.
Just like Finding Nemo with the turtles.
Yeah, well, you end up getting to the planet. And Superman realizes, there's these things trapped. So you get that. But then you get this, are they the same dolphins? Then you get the microbes. They're eating us. And you get this whole play at the end of.
But are the dolphins these other things? Can you differentiate between these and these dolphins? Maybe.
All we're doing is having Superman you get it? Superman, not everybody is clear-cut good or bad. You may like the space dolphins, but in fact, this other species, while the dolphins are just being space dolphins, they are attacking them, so they have their point of view. So that, and I'm like, I don't care. I just want to get back to see what's going on. And what we get is Lois pissed off and seemingly just a bitch because you end up Clark, after all this time, he didn't put away his stuff. He didn't clean up his toys, right? Where is it in this? And I know it's not fully in continuity or whatnot, but I would love to have Superman go to John in this and say, listen, we have to talk. Like, I kind of brushed aside what I didn't get the trauma that you must have been going through in that volcano. I get it now. I came back. So please, come on, hug it out. Let's talk. We're never going to get that because it's not.
And also,
deal.
Dad, you in that 20 years had adventures and did stuff. I was stuck being fed raw pigs by a guy who looked like you in a volcano that I was chained inside of.
I'm still burned. Half of I look like Two-Face, for crying out loud. That's what he should look like. But you end up where, okay, so what's the rub here? What are we trying to get in 3 issues in? I can't take 10 issues of this bullshit. I thought by now we would see a glimmer of, okay, this is what happens. But even at the end of this, he gets mad, smashes his device, which we saw
after he burns out his power reserve, so he's pretty much stuck in space with no navigational tool because he breaks it at the end because he's frustrated with it because it's going to take too long to get back to Kansas or anywhere else. And he had to be Superman, so being Superman burned out his power supply. So now he has nothing to look forward to for the issues going forward, except for being Jubal early, saying, well, here I am.
And so we already had earlier where he's picked up and like, hey, you owe us this amount of credits. So you can. Is he just going to get picked up by yet another? He may just end up getting picked up by the Space Jawas again, and they just dump him back at Kansas. I don't know, but really, when it says the edge of forever, I feel like I've been on that edge 3 issues now, and it feels like forever. It really does.
Even the idea,
nonsense.
We're issue number 3 here, next, the edge of forever. The road home begins with one step. I'm like, we're not on the road home yet?
And where I go for the full-out deal, and again, I don't want to insult anybody who likes this. Everybody likes everything, but I'm not having fun with this at all.
No.
I'm not enjoying it. I'm not enjoying the page-to-page storytelling. I'm not enjoying the idea that we're just hanging in space. And eventually, somebody will tell us, oh, but Jim and Eric, he gets back to Earth in issue 9 of 10. I'm like, whatever. I will never look back. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Like, we have... If we don't do anything that's going to be like a time paradox to make sure that this never happens, what you're left with is a Superman who's fundamentally damaged. That's it. That's the story. And what he did in this time to become damaged.
People seem to be kind of okay with that because that's different, and it is. You know, again, I said at the beginning, and I think it was Geek Dad that said that he's intrigued because this is a villain that you can't fight back. It's Superman, but it's just boring. I need something more than this. And
it's funny because it kind of reminds me, especially with the solar suit that he's wearing, what we had at the beginning of the Superman Returns movie where he was gone for 5 years because for some reason he thought, hey, maybe Krypton's still out there. So he flew out there, flew back. There's nothing. Just gone for 5 years and had his white solar suit. I'm back now.
I mean, Space Dolphins is usually fun, right?
Again, you say that. I don't like having fun. You have stuff with Space Dolphins. I like the idea that Lobo is infatuated with Space Dolphins. That's where it begins, and that's where it ends. Once it even shows up, I don't care for it. But the idea that Lobo loves Space Dolphins, that's enough for me.
I still think Priest is one of the most overrated comic book writers out there. He has a couple stories that are pretty good. But the long list, there's a lot of the people who are just like, oh, they're not that good, and people will forget about them. Priest is seemingly an all-time great, and he really has 2 things that I kind of enjoy.
James Owsley is pretty good.
Yeah, he was good. I mean, James and Christopher Priest was good, but Priest, he just doesn't have it. But I don't know. I think that a lot of people even reading this are giving it more of the benefit because of who's writing it. But if this would have been Clone Rads, they would have said this is garbage and left it. So that's what I want to do. But what would you give this?
Ultimately, I'm telling you, the writing's not terrible. It's just the story itself is not the direction I want to see going. Like, you know, where I personally care about where the story is. The individual adventure is not there. So like I said, this issue, Superman tries to stop the Space Dolphins from getting caught in nets. That's basically what you have. Superman's still lost in space, but that's not much enough for me to say, man, I can't wait to see what the next adventure is, because this one was pretty boring. The last one was pretty boring. And the stuff that I care about is not showing up in this book. So I think the art is great throughout this entire issue. The colors are great. Everything about the art is amazing in this. I wish I could see what I wanted from it, but I'm not. So I'm giving this a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm a 4. 4 out of 10. I'm just not digging it. It's not for me, but I'm just bored. I'm bored with it. I'm not having any fun with it. And I'm sick of sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. We've had this with so many books. Like, oh, well, you have to give it 4 issues. You have to give it 5 issues. We gave it 3. I don't like any of it. I like the concept, but it seems like we're not dealing with it. I don't want to suffer through any more to try to get to something that I want and might enjoy. I'm done. I'm flushing it, Eric.
The journey is just too much for the destination.
It is. I mean, I get the feeling that the last panel of issue 10 is just going to be him getting back. I'm home, honey. We're ending. Screw you. But yeah, what is your book of the week?
My book of the week is Stargirl, The Lost Children, number 6.
So is mine. I really, really did enjoy that book. And actually, I'm going to have a tie with the Green Lantern as well. I really enjoyed that, and I think it's something that's important for the Dawn of DC and getting all excited about that. But that sort of thing will continue next week, Eric. We have a lot of books next week and a lot of big bangers, I'd say.
Oh, yeah?
Starting with Batgirl's number 18. You excited, Eric? You ready to go? You got that going, and
One step closer to the end.
We have a ton of books. We said that's why we talked about Superboy in this deal, but even some of them are oversized. We got a lot of crazy stuff going on. We also have Batman, Superman, World's Finest, number 15. We're enjoying that one, right?
Yeah.
We have Batman, the Brave and the Bold, number 1. You tell me how excited you are for that while I cough, Eric.
I am really excited for that. Well, I would if Tom King wasn't involved, because the thing is, I'm not a huge Tom King fan. It might be good, and I will give it the benefit of the doubt, but when I see his name attached thing, I think a child is going to die immediately.
I do too. And you also have the idea that it's yet another Batman Joker story.
Yeah, and I don't need that at this point in time.
No, I don't either, but that's an oversized deal as well. You have, again, more of black and white. No, I'm having some problems. I just coughed so much that I got lightheaded, but no. You also have a Kevin Scott story. We have a Christopher Cantwell story, which I like to think of as Tom King light. So I don't know if that's crossing the streams in one book, but we'll see how it works out. We also have, speaking of Priest as well, that Black Adam book, another bit of nonsense.
And again,
what's with this?
I don't know. Maybe it got good. It was just not the Black Adam.
I don't hear anybody talking about it.
It didn't seem like one that was in proper continuity, so I dropped it because it wasn't personally reaching me as a DC Comics fan, because it just seemed like Priest doing a Black Adam book without him knowing exactly what's going on with Black Adam.
He said with that, it's like, I don't want to know the continuity of shit going on. I'm just going to write my story, and that doesn't really play out well with us. But what also doesn't play out well sometimes, Catwoman number 55, Eric.
Orange is the new Black Cat.
She's out of jail and ready to mingle. That rhymed. We'll see how that plays out. That book has been a bit of nonsense. Hopefully it can turn itself around. Cyborg number 1.
All right.
Cool, right?
It could be, unless it jumps into this, like, am I more man or machine? I don't need that fight anymore.
The new writer likes to say booyah.
Well, I like booyah as well.
So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, we'll get it. Let's see how that starts out, what the tone of it is. I'm looking forward, though, to see. Superman number 4, a book that we've really enjoyed. Yeah, so I'm excited about that.
I need to see some more shirtless Howard Stern in a wheelchair so I can figure out what's really going on with the villains.
I think that this might be one of the best weeks. Now, I'm not saying that I've read any of these books or whatever, but the idea and what we're getting, the possibility, this might be one of the better weeks we've had in years, because it keeps going. The Flash $7.99. We have that deal. We've enjoyed that.
I'm sitting here shaking my head yes. I'm like, what am I doing?
We ended up with, Space Macho Man. You didn't love that.
You know what? That's the thing is, I'm shaking my head because I was desperately trying to remember what $7.98 was. Like $7.99. Yeah, what we're doing? We gotta find the baby, but the Omega Bam Man, I don't really need that at this point in time.
It might be fun though. So we have that. Okay, the Vigil number 1, the Ram V.
Maybe
We Are Legends. Hopefully, okay. Titans number 1.
Okay, I look forward to that.
I mean, it's a big book. A lot of people are down with Tom Taylor, but hopefully he can come through.
What does that mean?
They don't like him.
Okay, when I say I'm down with something, I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
No,
I'm down.
I didn't say, man, people are down with him. I said, people are down with him.
It's in how you say.
Didn't you get how I said
it's like
that?
bad.
Listen, people are down with him. Do you get it now? No,
that's your normal tone. I don't
Tom Taylor, people are down with him. Now that's positive, right? I'm down with you. What are we? What, fucking 98? The hell?
That's where I live.
You're going to give me a solid? Well, what's going on here?
I say that still.
Bro. Oh, my goodness gracious. Titans number 1, dude. And then we have Wonder Woman $7.99.
It's going to be the bomb.
Party's done. Yeah, it might be the bomb. I'm trying to think of anything.
Cowabunga, what was that last book you just
Wonder
mentioned?
Woman $7.99. It's going to be a bomb. That's what I think. You all right?
I'm not down with that.
They're not down with that, but some people are
down with that.
Down with that.
So tell me, you gotta...
down. Some people are down on him. I thought I...
No.
Cowabunga, dude. Right? Are we in? Hey, awesome, man. I don't know.
Look forward to Titans, not Wonder Woman.
Are you going to give me a solid? Is that what you're going to do?
I'll do you a solid if you did a solid.
Well, I really mean, like, are you going to give me a solid? You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, that's very baby girl of you.
Right? Let's get going, big boy. Ain't that big boy? But yeah, those are some banger books. I mean, we have a lot of people's favorites. But, I mean, when have we ever gotten a week where we, unless it's the start of a new deal, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4 number ones. 4 number ones. We have it all. We just don't have Dominator X to wicka wicka whack. 1. I don't even know what I'm saying now. I'm trying to make you laugh and I can't hear a shitting thing from you, so I'm worried. We have 4 number
Keep you on
ones.
your toes.
We also have a plethora of number ones. Ooh-wee, what do you think will be picked by the badasses? I would say myself, they're going to pick Cyborg and Titans. But what do you think?
I can see that, but honestly, I think it's going to be Brave and the Bold and Titans.
Brave and the Bold. Seriously, I'm winking at the badasses. Pick Brave and the Bold. That is an oversized issue. We need to get that shit done early. And we're going to be doing a Friday night deal, so that gives me a benefit to say. If you want to hear our weekly spotlight, with 2 of these books will be Patreon only. Go over to the Patreon, patreon.com/WeirdScience, and you'll be able to listen to that Thursday night. But because we have so many books, me and Eric, unfortunately for Eric, will have to do some things on Friday. And what usually happens then, and I will make sure it does since I'm saying it now, we will have an earlier access where the books that we do on Friday, we will have available on the Patreon, early access Friday night, and then the rest of the show complete early access Saturday night. So if you want to get a little head start with all that, you go over to the Patreon, sign up, and you can even get that early access deal is usually just $1. So usually I say it will be.
Makes
so
you holler.
All of that, you can end up just supporting us and getting things early access. And that is, I think, pretty cool. Pretty cool way to start out your weekend and pull your pants up. And you might even get a little booyah out of Eric for a little bonus. But
booyah!
Yeah, so you could do that. But also, let me remind everybody to go over to Twitter at WeirdScienceDC. Follow us. We'll follow you back. Go over to our website, WeirdScienceDCComics.com. Check out written reviews and even some links to the YouTube channel, which is Weird Science Comics, where you can go and check out all those videos that I do there. And then, as I already mentioned, check out our Patreon, because we end up doing all this stuff. We've never taken a week off in the whole time. We've been doing this. We kind of had a snafu the second week of the podcast, but we are now 400 and some weeks in a row. We don't take off. We end up doing this so that people can have some fun things to listen to. Have a good time with us, right?
Yeah, don't test us.
I mean, that's the thing. It's getting to the point where I do have some people, they'll get a hold of me and like, well, I would join, but I'll just listen to the free stuff. I'm like, you keep saying, there ain't going to be no free stuff. Like, there's going to be no Jimmy. Jimmy's out. But we like doing this. I mean, you talk about it, but we do end up, we try to put some hard work into it as well. So maybe give us a little, solid, as they say.
Well, that's you're going to learn about that Daxamite lead weakness, huh?
Yeah.
Just don't worry about that so much.
A solid, Eric. But yeah, go over to the Patreon, patreon.com/WeirdScience, and you get more, deal than just that early access. There's a lot of stuff, and it's a lot of fun stuff that we end up being able to pick what we talk about, not just at the whims of the weekly schedule. And we have a bunch of reading clubs, all that stuff. So check it out. And there's right now, if you do go check it out, even if you don't join right away, you can get not early access, you can get previews to a lot of the shows as well. Check out what's going on. But all that said and done, we are done for this week.
Previews.
Yeah, previews, Eric. You can there 5
previews.
Minutes. Oh, preview. Yeah, it's about 5 minutes. You can listen to me and Eric talk nonsense. So with all that, hey, thanks everybody. And what do we say at the end, Eric?
Everybody have a great week. Keep it weird.
Weird.
And we'll see you in 7.
See you in 7.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.